Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
A very good afternoon to you, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 21st of August. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Now, breaking news. The Home Office have released their latest immigration figures. UK asylum applications hit a record high. Never before have we seen this number, 111,000 under the new government.
Yes, the number of asylum seekers housed in hotels as well is up 8% on 12 months ago.
And here's an interesting stat for you. Of 43,000 small boat arrivals in the year to June, just 2,300 were returned.
We're here at the Last Post Memorial Bar in Thornaby in the North East. We'll be speaking to veterans very shortly about the impact of immigration on the area.
In other news, yes, big news today. Lucy Connelly has been released from prison after serving 9 months in jail. The 42-year-old childminder was jailed for inciting racial hatred on social media site X after the Southport murders.
Also on the show today, has Rachel Reeves declared war on Britain's homeowners? As data reveals government debt has ballooned by almost 200 billion in just 1 year, is the Chancellor searching for ways to raise more tax come this autumn, and could your house be in her firing line? We'll examine quite what she'll hit.
And it's been reported that Keir Starmer is going to launch an autumn fight back against Nigel Farage's claim that Britain is broken. But it wasn't too long ago that Keir Starmer's government claimed the very same.
It's GCSE results day. Yes, pass rates fall in a nervous day for pupils in England and Wales and Northern Ireland. But those top grades have risen too. The Education Secretary says 4/5 of children from white working class backgrounds are falling short, though, in English and maths skills. Are the parents to blame?
And yes, do stay tuned, because as you can see from that delightful looking cake, it is my last day before I go on maternity leave. So we do have a bit of a surprise, don't we, later,
We
Tom?
do. What's inside the cake?
Yeah, what's inside? That cake looks delicious. I can't wait to get stuck into that.
I can't wait to see what's inside, because there's a bit of a surprise inside it, isn't there?
There's a little bit of a surprise, yes. I mean, the clue was sort of on top of the cake, wasn't it? Boy or girl. Yes, we will be doing a gender reveal, as the Americans call it.
So, Emily, you're saying all this time you've known the gender of the baby?
Yeah.
And we've been sitting here
None
in
the wiser.
the dark.
None the wiser, sitting here in the dark. Mark, it's exciting, isn't it? You're going to miss me.
I think it's a boy.
Oh, do you now?
Yes,
Why have you judged the shape of the bump?
I think so, yes.
This is what people say, isn't it? That they can tell from the shape of your bump, but I'm not sure if that's true.
It's a frisky wee tyke, definitely. It's a boy.
Well, maybe it's a boy, maybe it's a girl. Who knows? You can help with names.
Absolutely. Get your names in gbnews.com/You'll Say.
We are going to get Patrick into the studio as well, so do stay tuned for that. Perhaps he doesn't know what it is yet.
I think Athelstan would be a great one if it's a boy.
Patriotic.
And if it's a girl, something regal. It's got to be
Victoria.
Elizabeth or Victoria. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be a queen. You've got to be able to be a monarch, don't you? With
Horatio for a boy.
Horatio.
Oh, that's a brilliant name. Yeah, Horatio. Cochrane? Is that you know, Lord Cochrane? Was he the mad Scottish?
OK, right, now you're going off on one.
Well, I do have a bit of Scottish heritage, hence the ginger hair. Anyway, gbnews.com/You'll Say. Lots of serious things to talk about, too. After headlines with Tatiana.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories. Lucy Connelly, who was jailed for stirring up racial hatred against asylum seekers online on the day of the Southport murders, has been released from prison. A prison source says she was driven from HMP Peterborough in a taxi this morning. 42-year-old Connelly, the wife of Conservative Councillor Raymond Connelly, was handed a 31-month sentence in October. In July last year, she'd posted on X, "Mass deportation now, set fire to all the hotels." She pleaded guilty to inciting racial hatred by publishing and distributing threatening or abusive written material on X. The former childminder from Northampton was ordered to serve 40% of her sentence in prison before being released on licence. New Home Office data shows a total of 32,059 asylum seekers were being housed temporarily in UK hotels at the end of Labour's first year in government, up 8% on the same point 12 months ago. The data also shows there was a record number of asylum claims in the UK in the past year, 111,000, up from the previous peak of 103,000 in 2002. Kemi Badenoch has called for more Conservative councils to launch legal challenges over asylum hotels as the government faces a potential revolt from its own local authorities. In a letter to Tory councils, Mrs Badenoch said she was encouraging them to take the same steps as Epping Council if your legal advice supports it. Labour dismissed her letter as desperate. Epping secured a temporary injunction from the High Court on Tuesday, blocking the use of the Essex Town Bell Hotel as accommodation for asylum seekers on planning grounds. The decision has prompted councils controlled by Labour, the Conservatives and Reform UK to investigate whether they could pursue a similar course of action. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp spoke to GB News.
Has lost control of our borders. The number of illegal immigrants crossing the Channel has surged under Labour. It's gone up by 47% since the general election. This year so far has been the worst ever, and because of Labour's border crisis, we're seeing people still being accommodated in these hotels. But now councils are fighting back, led by Conservative-run Epping, and we're now calling on other Conservative councils to look at legal challenges as well, and many are doing so, including Broxbourne next door.
Elsewhere, a woman who flew from the US to kill a Birmingham shop owner as part of a violent feud has been jailed for 30 years. 45-year-old Amy Betro tried to shoot Sikander Ali outside of his home in the city in September of 2019, but the gun jammed and he fled. Betro was part of a plot with 31-year-old Mohammed Nabil Nazir and his father, 56-year-old Mohammed Aslam, who were in a feud with Mr. Ali's family. During her trial, Betro said she'd travelled to the UK on 2 previous occasions after meeting Nazir on a dating app. Now, students have received their GCSE results, with the gender gap for top grades persisting. Nearly a quarter of girls achieved at least a grade 7 or A, compared to almost a fifth of boys. It comes as 70.5% of girls were awarded at least a grade 4 or C, compared to 64.3% of boys. The GCSE pass rate fell again, with 67.4% of all grades in England, Wales and Northern Ireland at 4 or C and above. Government borrowing in the UK slowed to a lower than expected £1.1 billion in July, according to official figures. The Office for National Statistics said the figure, which was £2.3 billion less than the same month the year earlier, is the lowest July borrowing figure for 3 years. It came after a rise in self-assessed income tax payments helped increase tax receipts for the month. July borrowing was higher than the £2 billion figure predicted by a consensus of economists. Borrowing for the first 4 months of the financial year stood at £60 billion, £6.7 billion more than during the same period last year. Campaigners have issued a fresh call to ban smacking across the UK after a poll found more young adults think it's unacceptable. All corporal punishment of children, including shaking, slapping and hitting, became illegal in Wales in 2022. Scotland brought in a similar ban in 2020. However, in England and Northern Ireland, it's unlawful to hit your child except where it's reasonable punishment, something that's judged on a case-by-case basis. Health experts have urged Parliament to bring in a smacking ban across the UK, with doctors and psychiatrists saying research shows the detrimental effects of physical punishment. And a British woman believed to be the world's oldest living person has turned 116. Ethel Caterham, who lives in a care home in Surrey and is Britain's oldest ever person, took the world title in May following the death of a nun from Brazil. She was born in 1909, 5 years before the start of the First World War. In a statement, Ethel's family said she's spending her birthday quietly with her family so she can enjoy it at her own pace. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3468 and €1.1557. The price of gold, £2,479.43 per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 9,278 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past midday now. In what will come as a bitter blow to the government's attempts to slash those immigration numbers, it's been revealed that an astonishing, a record-breaking 111,000 people applied for asylum during Sir Keir Starmer's first year in office. A new record.
That is a huge number, isn't it? And if that weren't tricky enough, Home Office data also shows that just over 32,000 asylum seekers were being housed in British hotels at the end of Labour's first year in government. That's an increase of 8% on the previous year.
Well, all of this is despite, of course, the government to pledge that end of asylum hotel use by the end of the Parliament.
Well, Mark White is with us, our Home and Security editor. I mean, there's quite a lot of figures going around. Bring us the most important.
Well, on the hotels, as you just mentioned, Laster, that's an important one because clearly the government has made very big play of the fact that by the end of this Parliament, they will end the use of hotels to house asylum seekers. But the truth of it is that the number of asylum seekers in hotels has gone up 8% now under Labour to just over 32,000. And under the Conservatives, the last 9 months of the Conservative government, they actually reduced, although it was them that introduced, of course, in the first place, migrant hotels, they were on a process of reducing it, and they had reduced it by 47% over the final 9 months of the Conservative government. And they point out, and you know, you do the maths, it's right. If they continued on that trajectory, then by now there would be no migrants in hotels. Instead, what we have is an 8% increase under Labour, while publicly saying it's their stated ambition to end the use of migrant hotels.
Yeah, it's a really stark situation. But should we just get back to basics for a second? Because a lot of people will be saying, hang on, there have only been 50,000, only 50,000 people coming across by small boats since Labour got into office. Where do the extra 61,000 come from? Now, these are likely visa overstayers.
Yes, exactly. The visa overstayers, people that come on student visas at the end of that course, or even before the end sometimes, they decide that they're going to claim asylum with the hope of staying here. And also people that maybe come on work visas and do the same, and people that sneak in other routes, the likes of lorries and things. So small boats, I think, makes up about 40% of all the asylum applications that are lodged each year. And as you said in your introduction there, 111,000, the highest on record since these records actually started in 2001. Now that's 14% up on the 97,000 in the year before. And what's interesting when you drill down into this as well, in terms of the nationalities amongst the asylum seekers, Pakistan is at the top. Pakistan had 11,234 people who claimed asylum in the year to June this year, 10% of the total, and up from 8,383 the previous year. I know the puzzlement on your face. What war is raging? Apart from, obviously, some hot zone conflict in Kashmir, actually, for the majority of Pakistan, where is the war zone?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, Pakistan, not a perfect country by any means. Of course, I'd rather live in a Western developed nation than I would in Pakistan. But my goodness me, if Pakistan is the bar by which people can claim asylum or think they can move on the grounds of a humanitarian issue, I mean, it must be sort of 2/3, 3/4 of the countries in the world would apply to that threshold.
Yeah, and some of those who are applying from Pakistan will have come over on small boats, but the majority are probably coming here on study visas, some on work visas. So that is seen as a gaming of the system, clearly by those that really shouldn't have a right to claim asylum. I think the other thing worth exploring in these figures is we know what the up-to-date sort of small boat arrivals figures are, but if you just look at the year to June, which was roughly the period of time that Labour was in office, in that first year, maybe take a month out of that. Sure. But 43,000 asylum seekers, or 43,000 people crossed by small boat at that time, and then the majority, of course, go on to claim asylum. Of that 43,000, just 2,300 of those small boat migrants were returned. So that, a quick calculation, as I can see you doing that now, Emily, is 5.4% of the total number crossing the channel in that period were returned. So weigh that up against what you hear from government ministers every time we talk about the out-of-control small boats crisis. They say, but we've returned 35,000 people who had no right to stay here since we came to office.
Those are probably Albanians and Vietnamese, maybe.
Well, they are visa overstayers and
voluntary returns in many cases.
All of the above.
Thank you for bringing us those
very small percentage of
statistics.
We could talk about this all day, going through all the different figures.
And we will be talking about it with you later in the show as well. But for now, thank you very much indeed.
Yes,
I'll be back for the cake.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We'll save you a slice. Yes, we're heading to speak to our GB News reporter, Anna Riley, who's in Thornaby to find out how immigration is impacting the community there. Anna, tell us, who have you been speaking to?
Good afternoon. Well, yes, we're here in the Last Post Memorial Bar in Thornaby, a bar dedicated to remembering the lives of the fallen. It's filled with memorabilia from bereaved family members. You may be able to see behind us just some of the stuff that fills this bar, and it's a real hub for the community, a hub for veterans. And I'm joined now by Navy veteran Stephen Parker. Stephen, what do you make to these Home Office figures that have come out today? We know that this area has seen a higher influx, a hotspot as such for immigration, around 3 to 4% of the population.
I feel that Middlesbrough has
pretty much always been a dumping ground. We get people brought here, put up in hotels, HMOs, things like that, and we're just expected to live with it.
And what impact does that have on the community?
Well, personally, I recently needed to see my GP for an appointment, and it took over a month for the appointment to come through, and then the paperwork from it a further month. We've got an NHS that's on its knees, and we're ploughing tens of thousands more people into it with no plan to deal with it.
And Middlesbrough and the surrounding area picked as a place for immigrants to come potentially because it's got lower housing costs. Also, if people are coming and studying here, it's close to Teesside University, close to Durham University. But how does that feel if you're saying that the amenities aren't in place?
It feels very much like the locals are ignored and we're betrayed, really. You vote for whatever party that they make promises to reduce the boats coming in and back local business, things like that. And you just don't see it happen. It's promises that are false, really.
And as a veteran, how does it feel in this area if you feel that maybe immigrants coming over are prioritised?
Well, you've got tens of thousands of immigrants coming across the channel who are prioritised for housing, benefits, things like that. And you've got in the region of 4,000 homeless veterans who are left to fend for themselves. And it's a betrayal. They've served the country, they've signed on the dotted line, and when they need help themselves, there's nothing forthcoming.
Thank you for speaking to us this afternoon, Stephen. So that's Stephen's take here, and we'll be at the Last Post Memorial Bar throughout the afternoon speaking to some more veterans about these figures that have come out from the Home Office.
Really significant stuff. Anna Riley, thanks indeed for being with us.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to another big story of the day. Yes, Lucy Connelly, the woman who was jailed for inciting racial hatred against asylum seekers on the day of the Southport murders, she's been released from prison.
Yes, the 42-year-old, who's married to Conservative councillor Raymond Connelly, walked free from HMP Peterborough this morning after serving part of a 31-month-long sentence.
And as a reminder, she was jailed last October after posting on X a single tweet that hotels housing asylum seekers should be set on fire, remarks she later admitted were threatening and abusive.
Although it was, of course, set them on fire for all I care.
Absolutely.
Rather than a direct urging of people to set them on fire. Some have argued, of course, this was a mark of indifference towards hotels burning rather than a command to make sure that they do.
Yeah, why don't we remind of the full tweet? I'll have to. There are a couple of expletives, so I will block those up. Mass deportation now. Set fire to all the effing hotels full of the bees for all I care. If that makes me racist, so be it. So that was the single tweet. It was taken down 3 hours later, but had been seen 310,000 times.
Well, shall we discuss this more with the External Affairs Officer at the Free Speech Union, Connie Shaw. Connie, thanks for being with us this afternoon. This has become a totemic case for free speech in this country.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and it's wonderful news that Lucy is going to be reunited with her family, but that doesn't change the fact that she has served 9 months, let alone the fact that she was sentenced to 31 months for a tweet. She has served 9 months behind bars for a tweet. And I think there are three things here, really. First of all, the two-tier justice really starts at the beginning when she wasn't released on bail. She was remanded in custody, and you'll hear lots of people say, but she pled guilty. It was an open and shut case. But actually, she pled guilty precisely because she was concerned that if she pled not guilty, she would spend even longer behind bars awaiting trial. And that's different to what Ricky Jones' experiences was. He was granted bail.
He's the Labour councillor
who said in public on video at a protest calling for the throats to be cut of other protesters. Now, in my opinion, that's far worse than what Lucy did, but I still don't think that he should be locked up. But he was released on bail, eventually had the advice of an external, very experienced criminal KC, and he pled not guilty and was acquitted by a jury. So had Lucy pled not guilty, I imagine she would have been acquitted as well. But then you have the treatment of her in prison. So she was denied being released on temporary line licence, so she couldn't even spend one night at home. Now, apparently this was due to the public interest in her case, which is a very strange reason to not allow someone to spend one night at home and just for a tweet. It's almost similar to a current case that we have, Robert Moss, who was told his bail conditions meant he couldn't even talk about the fact he'd been arrested. So it's like a double punishment, that if you draw attention to your case, you'll get punished again. And because you've had attention drawn to your case, you won't be granted this leave, a second punishment.
That is fascinating and pernicious, because we have the Prime Minister time and time again, when he sits down with Donald Trump, for instance, a journalist will say, what about free speech in the UK? He has this stock answer. We have free speech in the United Kingdom, and we've had it for a very long time. And yet now we hear that the condition of some people's licence for speech crimes is that they mustn't talk about the fact that they've been imprisoned or sentenced for speech crimes.
Yes, I know. It's outrageous and an absolutely Orwellian situation. I mean, we have 30 people a day, according to custody data obtained by The Times, who are being arrested for offensive, so-called offensive messages on social media. But even further than that, Lucy was also denied home curfew detention, which meant she could be at home by electronic monitoring. Yet there were two other inmates who applied for this at the same time. They were serving sentences for death by dangerous driving. They were given home detention curfew, but Lucy wasn't.
So people who have been convicted for killing other people were allowed to leave prison and go home, whereas Lucy Connelly, who sent an ill-advised tweet, wasn't.
Yes, and so this is why it really frustrates me when people say that the claim that there's two-tier justice in this country is just a dog whistle, when the evidence is right before us. I've already given all those examples. Further, the same judge who sentenced Lucy Connelly to 31 months for a tweet gave only 20 months to a man who actually participated in the riots. Another man who was part of a mob attack on a mosque, who threw missiles at police officers, was given a more lenient sentence. A man in 2013 was had a more lenient sentence for paying a child for sex. There is clearly an issue here with our criminal system. And also in the sentencing remarks of Lucy's case, the judge referenced diversity and inclusion. So in my opinion, there's clearly been a political assessment of her tweet, not just a legal one.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Connie Shaw. Really appreciate your opinion on this one. We're going to have more on this, of course. That was the External Affairs Officer at the Free Speech Union, Connie Shaw. Of course, please do get in touch with your views. But this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News.
Yeah, lots more still to come. It's been reported the Prime Minister will launch an autumn fight back against Nigel Farage's claim that Britain is broken. Will we see a Labour renaissance, or is it too little, too late for the Prime Minister?
But after the break, has Rachel Reeves declared war on Britain's homeowners? Yes, as data reveals, government debt has ballooned by almost £200 billion in just 1 year. The Chancellor, while she's searching for ways to raise more tax, isn't she? And is it your home she's hitting next?
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I remember being introduced to Ken Bates.
Chelsea.
Who owned Chelsea, and just asked to sit down with him and then spend the next sort of 2 or 3 hours with him having lunch. And an ex of Donald Trump, Ivana Trump, his wife, and
oh, you had dinner with her?
Yeah, I remember having dinner actually with Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Did you?
You said earlier you couldn't think of any.
anyone else listing them?
I can't think of anyone. That literally just literally come into my head.
Hi, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Can we go back to that, please?
Catherine Zeta-Jones was... I used to live in a flat in Fulham, and I'm up at the top of the flat, and I was a sports reporter at the BBC, and I went round to Pizza Express, and I'm sitting eating, having my dough balls and everything else I was having, and reading the back pages of the papers in preparation for the work that I was doing the next day.
Yeah.
And I walked out of the cafe, and the beautiful, most stunning woman, Catherine Zeta-Jones, was walking by, and she said, "Oh, hello, Eamon." And then Welsh accent. I had to do it. Hello, Eamon. How are you? And we were standing talking, and we were nattering away, and she said, "Anyway, why are we standing talking in the street? Have you eaten?"
And I went, said no.
I went, no, I didn't say no. I went, no. And I went inside, and I remember Pizza Express was empty, and the waiter saw me again, and I went and sat down with Catherine, and he said, "And you, sir, are you eating?" And I went, "Yes." He said, "What do you have?" And I said, "Could I have the dough balls?" And I've never been able to eat dough balls again since.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 28 minutes past midday. Now, the Chancellor is being accused of causing an extinction event for Britain's middle classes.
Yes, why? Well, reports suggest she's planning an unprecedented property tax raid, including an increase in council tax and a mansion tax. There appear to be quite a few options that she can choose from.
And strangely, a mansion tax seems to apply to houses that wouldn't have been considered mansions just not so long ago. Well, shall we speak to the editor of the Sunday Telegraph, Alistair Heath? Because, Alistair, this is a really profound moment where Britain might be shifting how the tax base works to a place that we've never really seen in the United Kingdom before.
Yes. I mean, fundamentally, right, people's primary residences, their family homes, have always been their castles, their tax-free castles. Governments haven't either taxed capital gains on those houses, or they haven't imposed annual wealth taxes on those houses. Yes, you've got to pay council tax, but that's it. It's the only part of the British economy and of British society that is basically tax-free, and people expect it to remain tax-free. The problem for Rachel Reeves is she has spent and she spent and she spent and she's taxed and she's taxed and she's taxed, and she's run out of places to grab more money. There's a massive budget deficit. Today's figures were quite bad, especially when you look back at the last few months. It's a very, very bad place for the UK government to be in. I don't think people realise just how bad the situation is. Bond yields are going up. You know, there could easily be a catastrophic fiscal crisis engulfing this country either at the end of this year or next year, maybe even the year after. So the fiscal situation is grave, and Reeves isn't allowed to cut any public spending whatsoever, because otherwise her Labour MPs just will go to war with her. So she's trying to do two things here. She's trying to ask the Treasury what are the options to finally raid, to grab cash from homeowners, to finally target the primary residence, to smash that long-standing taboo against taxing your house. So that's to raise more money, but also probably to redeem herself with the left, because the left in this country, since the 1970s at least, have loved the idea of a wealth tax. They hate the fact that you don't have to pay capital gains tax on your main property. They hate the fact that you don't have to pay an annual wealth tax on your main property. And so she'll be doing those two things at the same time if she pushes through one of those taxes.
Breaking that taboo on targeting people's primary residence, their home for life, their family home, what would that mean for Britain?
I think it'd be a catastrophe for Britain. I think the tax-free status of the family home, people can become freeholders, right? You buy a house, it's yours. Once you've paid off the mortgage, it's yours. They can't tax you again. They can't charge you again just to keep it. But under these sorts of annual property taxes, what they're basically saying is you are a tenant. You're a tenant of the state. You're a leaseholder. The state is the freeholder. You've got to pay a fee every year just for the right to keep your house. And that's a massive shift in the balance of power between Middle England, the petite bourgeoisie, you know, the people, freeholders, people who own a stake in this country, and the government and the political elites. It's a huge transfer of power, and that's the fundamental reason why I oppose this. I totally oppose these ideas. You know, some economists will tell you, OK, it's more efficient to do this, and, you know, you could make a bit of money and it may not blow everything up. Well, first of all, I think it would blow everything up. But secondly, I oppose it on moral and philosophical grounds. It's a key bulwark against the power of the state. It's a key mechanism to prevent the government from growing and growing and growing and growing.
What do you say to those economists who say that currently, because there is this big sort of tax-free part of our sort of broader tax infrastructure, this is a weird incentive? This means that people don't put their money in more productive investments, the economy is smaller as a result, and instead people put their money in their primary residence more so than they would do otherwise in a world where nothing was taxed or everything was taxed evenly.
Yes. So, I mean, that's a static kind of technocratic argument. It's got some validity, but I don't think that on balance is correct. I think on balance it's totally wrong, because taxing property in the way they're considering would lead to a much bigger, much more powerful state. And I think the disadvantages of that will cancel out any minor economic benefit from taxing everything the same. And secondly, my argument is you should slash capital gains tax on everything else. Capital gains tax is a very, very bad tax. It should be either zero or extremely low. And so if you did that, then this so-called disadvantage would disappear and the economy would be more efficient.
Well, Alistair, just very quickly before we have to go, what do you think she's going to choose? I know you've given a few options in your article. You've got an annual proportional wealth tax on the value of your homes, imposition of CGT capital gains on primary residences. You've got a couple of other things. Where do you think she's going to go?
My gut feeling is that CGT on some primary residences would be the least difficult thing for her to do in the short term. I think it would be opening a massive Pandora's box. I think you'd start off with a few houses, but eventually everybody would pay it. Yeah. And eventually the rate would go up and up and up. And it would be hard enough.
People support it until it hits them.
Yeah. And that's a tax on the sale of the house. So it probably makes everyone stay in their house for longer than they should do, counteracting the argument of taxing the house in the first place to make people move.
So no one would sell, right? Because you'd think maybe there's going to be a reform government or Tory government, whatever government, in 3 years' time, 4 years' time. So, and they might decide to abolish that tax. So what do? You do nothing. And the whole housing market will collapse. It will be a complete calamity.
Right, well, Alistair Heath, you know, we're going to look on the bright side, perhaps. Perhaps you'll decide not to do any of this.
We love having you on the show. It's always such a sunny moment of optimism.
Cling on to your assets, guys. Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
Yes, it's GCSE results day. Pass rates have fallen in a nervous day for pupils in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. But the Education Secretary says 4/5 of children from white working-class backgrounds are falling short in English and maths, those skills required to get on in life. We're asking, are the parents to blame?
Yes, but after the break, it's been reported that Keir Starmer will launch an autumn fight back against Nigel Farage's claim that Britain is broken. But if I remember correctly, didn't he say the very same thing only about a year ago?
That's right. Well, we'll get that after your latest headlines.
Yes, thank you. The headlines at 12:30. Lucy Connelly, who was jailed for stirring up racial hatred against asylum seekers online on the day of the Southport murders, has been released from prison. Kemi Badenoch has called for more Conservative councils to launch legal challenges over asylum hotels as the government faces a potential revolt from its own local authorities. Students have received their GCSE results today, with the gender gap for top grades persisting. Nearly a quarter of girls achieved at least a grade 7 or A compared to almost a fifth of boys. It comes as 70.5% of girls were awarded at least a grade 4 or C compared to 64.3% of boys. Campaigners have issued a fresh call to ban smacking across the UK after a poll found more young adults think it's unacceptable. Amy Betro, a US woman disguised in a niqab whose gun jammed during a failed assassination plot in Birmingham, has been jailed for 30 years. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. Here's your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of dry weather to come for many of us as we go through the end of the week and into the long bank holiday weekend. At the moment, there's quite a slack flow across us. There's an area of high pressure just to the south of Iceland, but whilst that's bringing a lot of dry weather, it is also allowing for a bit of a northerly breeze to push through. So that's going to keep things a little bit fresher along those North Sea coastal parts, a bit breezy towards eastern parts as well. Elsewhere, a dry story though, and we are going to see some sunshine breaking through, the best of the sunshine towards the southwest and also across parts of northern Scotland. In the sunshine, it's going to feel pleasantly warm, temperatures in the low 20s, but like I say, towards those eastern coastal parts, feeling a bit fresher, especially with that breeze. Now, as we go through into this evening, for many it's going to stay dry and fine, particularly across much of Scotland. Some decent sunshine to end the day here as well. Meanwhile, across the southern parts of Scotland, the borders area, the cloud could be thick enough at times through today and into this evening for a few spots of rain. Similar across parts of Northern Ireland, some parts of Northern England. Elsewhere, though, across the rest of England and Wales, yes, there could be some cloud lingering, and if you're under the cloud, it's always going to feel that bit cooler, but on the whole, it's going to stay dry and at times quite bright. Overnight, it's a case of chasing the cloud, because where we see the cloud lingering, it will keep temperatures from dropping too much. But where we see the cloud disappearing and clearing away, we're going to see our temperatures dropping. So whilst most towns and cities will just about hold up in double figures, in rural spots we could see temperatures dropping to around 2 to 5 Celsius. So a bit of a chilly start tomorrow morning. There could be some fog patches first thing, but these will quite quickly clear. And then again, for many, it's a largely dry day. Not totally dry, perhaps a bit more cloud, a few outbreaks of rain towards some parts of northwest Scotland, maybe the odd spot of rain where the cloud's thick enough across England and Wales as well, but most places staying dry and most places a little bit warmer than today as well. Bye-bye.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. An incident closed 2 lanes on the A19 southbound near Stockton-on-Tees, causing half-hour delays. Congestion on the A585 northbound towards Great Eccleston in Lancashire results in 20-minute delays. A broken-down vehicle on the A14 westbound near Ipswich causes a half-hour delay. In Hampshire, the A34 southbound faces a busy afternoon with a 10-minute delay. And on the trains, Merseyrail reports major disruption through Hamilton Square, while Avanti West Coast faces challenges in Wigan North Western and between Coventry and Birmingham International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 39 minutes past midday. Now, the Prime Minister is reportedly looking to launch an autumn fight back against Reform UK's claim that Britain is broken.
Yes, in the run-up to the Labour Party conference, he's going to look to highlight the positive steps the government has taken to improve the country since their general election victory and push back on the idea that Britain is broken.
Well, joining us now is the political editor of HuffPost, Kevin Schofield, and the political commentator Benedict Spence. Kevin, this is a really interesting line for the Prime Minister to take, because it's a pretty sharp U-turn from what he was saying during the general election just over a year ago.
No, you're absolutely right. I think it was in their political interest then to say Britain is broken, so vote Labour. And obviously once Labour get in, Britain is no longer broken as far as they're concerned. I think also there's an acknowledgement that just after they won the election, if you remember, Keir Starmer gave a speech in the Rose Garden in Number 10 where he was very gloomy, talked about tough times ahead. Really downbeat assessment of where the country was, and I think there's an acknowledgement within Downing Street that was a big mistake, that they needed to be a bit more upbeat, a bit more positive. And now the plan is to do that in the run-up to the Labour Party conference at the end of September.
Yeah, I mean, Benedict, do you think it's the right approach to sort of go after Nigel Farage's argument here that Britain is broken?
I mean, it is sort of ironic to suggest that, you know, in the build-up to the general election, that the attitude was, let's tell the truth and say that everything isn't working, and then in the immediate aftermath of the election say, no, things really aren't working, and then go, do you know what, actually, maybe telling the truth isn't getting us very far, maybe we need to lie. You know, the thing is, they were right when it was still a Conservative government. They were right to point out that actually things were not good and were not massively improving. And that's obviously the pitch that you're going to spin to people. I don't really think that it's been enough time, frankly, even if things were on a good trajectory, for the government to have turned anything around. And I think perhaps they should be honest about that as well. But simply trying to pretend, oh, actually, we've done lots of things that are making your lives better. People are not stupid, and you can try and hide things in data or various different reports to say, actually, we have made your lives better. But if people don't feel that their lives are tangibly improving, you're not going to be able to convince them. And I think that that's the key thing, is that it will simply sound like a lie, regardless of whatever data it is the government tries to spin.
Yeah, I wonder, Kevin, if so much of this is so deep-rooted. I mean, we've got hosepipe bans in a very rainy country because we haven't built a reservoir since 1992. Now, the government has approved a bunch of new reservoirs to be built, but that's not going to come on stream until the 2030s. Similarly, they've approved a new runway at Heathrow. We might be getting a new runway at Gatwick too. These won't come on stream until the 2030s, maybe even later. I mean, all of the different elements of where we've broken the economy, no new reservoirs, no new runways, no new roads, no new nuclear power stations. We will eventually be getting this sort of stuff, but none of this is something that could be turned around within a 5-year term.
No, you're right, and it's true voters aren't daft. There is a reason why Labour are trailing so badly in the polls and why Keir Starmer's personal ratings are so low. And you're right, all those things that you've talked about, those are long-term reforms, and unless Labour wins the next election, they're not really going to get any credit for them coming on stream. So I think what they're trying to do is say, look at the NHS, for instance. The person in number 10 that I spoke to about this, when I was asking them, so what type of things are you going to be highlighting? Basically, the one thing that has gone reasonably well for them, I guess, is that there's more NHS appointments and waiting times have come down a bit. Other than that, there's not an awful lot to point to. So
Don't forget the free breakfasts, Kevin.
Pardon?
Free breakfasts.
Oh yeah, I suppose we'll get told about free breakfast as well. But I think it'll be interesting to see what exactly ammunition he fires when he comes back from his holidays in the run up to the Labour conference. Because achievements, to be fair, I think, to be honest, have been pretty thin on the ground thus far, haven't they?
Yeah, there's a risk, Benedict, as well, that doesn't it look a bit like Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of this country, 1 year in, is dancing to the beat of Nigel Farage's drum? If he does concentrate a little too much on the man, Nigel.
Oh, completely. I mean, although it must be said, and we must keep on saying this, that Nigel Farage exists because he is the manifestation of the none of the above options on the ballot box. He's not necessarily coming out with fantastic policies or anything like that. He's tapped into a couple of key things that people are particularly angry about, and he's basically just saying, I'll do this differently. And that's fair enough. Obviously, you'd want him to do things differently, but he's not really diving down into the details. The thing is, one of the things, amongst the key things that really did for the Conservatives at the last general election, cost of living, immigration, things like crime, these are key things that actually I think a lot of people feel are worse. I mean, GB News are highlighting the number of illegal migrants who are coming across the channel. It's record this year. The number of people claiming asylum in the UK is at a record high this year. The cost of living, well, the previous segment that you were just discussing with Alistair Heath, taxes are going to go up in the next budget. That's going to affect, it's not simply going to be that the super rich are affected. I know that that's what Labour would like to tell people, but it is going to be everybody who is punished, except those, it seems, on personal independence payments. They'll be fine. But almost everybody will be punished. And it's when you look at these things in the round and you can say, OK, maybe the NHS is down, waiting lists are down slightly. But everything else, it's not even stayed still. It's demonstrably worse. People can see it and feel it.
Yeah.
And so as much as you can turn around and go, OK, well, we've finally greenlit nuclear power plants or runways, it's a kind of well, thank you for that, but I'm a lot poorer for this.
Yeah, and here's the thing, unless you feel it, it's just going to look like the politician is lying. I suppose we'll have to keep an eye on those polls and see if they do budge come this new big campaign. But Kevin Schofield and Benedict Spence, thanks indeed for joining us to discuss this. I have to say, it does remind me of President Reagan's 1984 presidential campaign. You know, that famous ad, "It's morning in America again." And the voiceover with sort of the panning shots of beautiful sort of front lawns and sunrise and everything. And then they just talk about how high employment is, how low inflation is, just how the economy is booming and everything. And it's such a brilliant ad because it taps into a feeling in the country that America was back. Now, if they were just saying all of these things, but people felt poorer, he wouldn't have won that election.
I mean, Keir Starmer did the exact opposite. It told us how everything was rubbish and how it was going to get worse before it was going to get better. And suddenly to say, oh no, we're not actually broken, absolute nonsense. Anyway, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the weather.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hot and sunny conditions continue across much of Spain and Portugal. A few heavy showers likely in Croatia. A fairly brisk wind blowing in Sardinia. Quite breezy too in southern parts of Portugal. But most of Spain and Portugal dry, fine and sunny. Just a small chance of a shower in Ibiza. Much greater chance of seeing some heavy showers across Croatia. Fine and sunny for most of the Greek islands and Turkey. That will continue through the weekend as well. Goodbye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 10 to 1, and top grades have risen in these all-important GCSEs, but pass rates
have fallen.
That's not great, is it? But the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, has spoken out about white working-class children. She says they're being let down by the system, as many are falling short in English and maths.
Well, joining us now is the writer and academic Andrew Tettenborn. Andrew, what are we to make of these new GCSEs? And is it the white working classes who have done worst out of them?
Well, actually, overall, there isn't a great deal of change, as you said. Most of the changes are of the order of, I think, 0.1, 0.2%. I do think we need to be worried about the white working class, which is something that actually is also reported as a regional variation between, for example, areas in the northeast, which contain disproportionate numbers of working class white people. I think what we really need to be worried about is that Bridget Phillipson hasn't said a great deal about what she's going to do about it. If you look at what she said this morning, it said, oh, well, we need more statistics and we need, I think she said some glorified AI means of detecting which schools are in trouble. What we didn't hear was what she was likely to do about it. Now, I suspect the answer may lie in changes in teaching methods. I don't know. I'm not a teacher. But I certainly expect the Education Secretary to have a little bit more to say than she did.
Well, Andrew, and also, what does she mean by being let down? I mean, being let down by the system, it's very vague, isn't it? Does she mean that teachers aren't doing enough for white working class pupils? Does she mean they're being discriminated against? Does she mean that perhaps family life isn't going their way in terms of aspiration, in terms of parental responsibility? Who exactly is she blaming? We don't even know that, do we, Andrew?
No, we don't. It's very difficult to know what the cause is of this. But one point is that all sorts of disadvantaged groups or supposedly disadvantaged groups have had the benefit of various kinds of initiatives to support them. The disadvantaged group, which nobody ever really thinks about, is the white working class. In some cases, obviously, there's room for improvement in parenting, but I very much doubt whether white working class parenting is worse or appreciably worse than in other groups. I suspect that they've simply been rather ignored, that we've had all sorts of efforts to improve everybody else, but nobody's really thought about.
I think that's true. You're not allowed to give money towards a scheme for white working class children, are you, in this country? Andrew Tettenborn, we're going to have to leave it there. Writer and academic, really appreciate your time on this one. That's the thing. There's probably so many different factors for why people are doing worse from different cohorts. But
all sorts of special programmes, if you're black, brown, if you're anything like that. Lots of different sort of focus and money, but not so much for the white kids. Well, breaking news, the Home Office have released their latest immigration figures. We're going to be talking all about this record 111,000 assignment applicants under Labour. That after your latest weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, as we go towards the long bank holiday weekend, we are going to have high pressure building, so things are going to be largely dry and increasingly warm, but currently we still have the influence of high pressure, but it is bringing a bit of a northerly flow, which is why things have been a bit fresher, a bit cooler towards those eastern coastal parts. And we do have a fair bit of cloud for quite a few of us through the rest of today, but some of that cloud is going to break up a bit more as we go through the evening and overnight. And where we get those clear skies, well, that's where we're likely to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop. Some rural spots could fall as low as 2, 3, 4 degrees, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, most towns and cities holding up in double digits. It is going to be a generally dry night, but there could be some pockets of mist and fog first thing tomorrow morning, but they're quite quickly going to clear away. Towards the south, across the southwest, a bright sunny start tomorrow morning, and across parts of the southeast, more central parts and into Wales, a bit more cloud. And where we get the cloud, there could be a few spots of rain across parts of North Wales, northwest England, maybe Northern Ireland too, and the borders area of Scotland could have a little bit of drizzly rain at times. But further north, across western parts of Scotland, a brighter start, central and eastern parts having a little bit more cloud. Then through the day itself tomorrow, again some cloudy weather continuing in some places, so some places staying a little bit grey, but most of us will see some brighter spells breaking through at times. Perhaps a good deal of sunshine across much of Scotland, northwest England. Elsewhere the cloud lingering a little bit. Under the cloud feeling a little cooler perhaps, but in any sunny breaks we're looking at temperatures getting into the low 20s. Temperatures on paper a little higher than today. Then through the evening we're going to stay pretty similar, largely dry, a few spots of rain perhaps, but most places avoiding this, and some clearer skies towards the north. Like I said, through into the bank holiday weekend, lots of fine weather to come, often quite sunny, and temperatures rising as well. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
What does it feel like to be a Great British Giveaway winner?
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
Yes, that is fantastic.
You know, you have no idea how much I needed it. Oh my goodness.
You've won £54,321.
Please don't joke. This would change my life.
Oh, thank you so much. I was gobsmacked. Thank you, GBNews.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
You really could be our next big winner. Head over to gbnews.com/win now to find out how and get your entry for the Great British Giveaway. Great prizes, even greater wins.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Netflix has released a trailer for season 2.
Why do you read this as if it's actually serious? Netflix has released a season. Your woman, Meghan Markle, is back on making a cooking programme that no one has ever watched, right?
Yes.
And then we're all suddenly saying, not only is she making that cooking programme, but her husband, where's he?
He's not in it.
Yeah, basically.
But, did you hear?
No, I don't care either.
He doesn't like lobster.
What's that got to do with the price of bread?
That's the big revelation from this trailer.
Well, if that's the best we're going to get, here it is. This is what it's like.
Love these moments of discovery and beauty. So let's be curious together. Do you know who doesn't like lobster?
Who?
My husband.
And you'll marry him? But can I just say, there's no taste to lobster, really. You can't.
Well, I don't like lobster.
Well, what do you mean? There's nothing to lobster.
I just don't want to work that hard for my food, you know? You have to really crack and dig around.
No, that's a point. No, I agree
and you get
with
nothing out of it, really.
But you can have all that rubbish they're standing eating there and whatever, the sort of stuff that you would throw up in your street and, well, I mean concoct. I don't mean like throw up as in vomit. But anyway, it could make you. Kinsey Schofield's been across all of this. We go live. Forgive my cynicism with this. I don't care about her and I don't care about her cooking programme. Does that make me really odd?
No, but I did really love Ellie's point about lobster being way too complicated. If I can't microwave it, I just don't find, that's too much effort for me. So, my big takeaway was Daniel, the makeup artist, survived Meghan Markle's bath salts from season 1. I thought that was exciting.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 21st of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Tom Harwood.
Well, yes, the breaking news today. The Home Office has released their latest immigration figures, and it shows that UK asylum applications have hit a record 111,000 under Labour. And the number of asylum seekers housed in hotels, that's up to 8% on 12 months ago.
And of the 43,000 small boat migrants who came in the year to June, just 2,300 were returned.
Meanwhile, Lucy Connelly has now been released from prison. This after serving 9 months in jail, a full gestation period. The 42-year-old childminder was jailed for inciting racial hatred on social media after the Southport murders.
An SNP politician has been branded shameless for launching a bid to drop the oath of allegiance to King Charles in the Scottish Parliament. We'll discuss.
Robbed, set on fire, ripped off and forced to tackle thieves herself. We'll be joined by the owner of Britain's most targeted shop.
And the UK Space Agency, well, it's going to cease to exist as an independent entity, all apparently to cut the cost of bureaucracy. Is this an example of broken Britain?
And stay tuned for this. Yes, it's Emily's last day before heading off on maternity leave. We're going to miss her very much, but we've got a big surprise coming up. You won't want to miss this. There's actually a very, very small little man hidden inside the cake. Going to jump out and sort of do it.
What, a little Patrick?
I thought it might have been maybe a file to sort of...
To break you out
file
of prison.
Away, yeah, file away at the bars to escape from Patrick.
Well, this is the thing.
I thought you meant from him.
No. This cake was actually originally baked for Lucy Connelly, and it does have a file in it for her to break out. But then we learned that she got out today anyway, so we didn't need to send the cake. So we've repurposed it for.
You just scribbled boy or girl on the top. And jobs are good. But yes, there will be a gender reveal coming your way, and we'll find out by presumably cutting open that cake.
Oh, it's going to be very exciting.
It is very exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit American, the sort of gender reveal thing, but it's a bit of fun, isn't it? A parting gift as I go on maternity leave. And yes, I will be back. I will be back. Some people were writing in saying it sounded like I was going to be gone forever.
But do you know how long you're going to be away yet? Because I know there's lots of conflicting advice about this.
I like to keep that in the air, you know?
Yeah.
Like to...
Because I remember talking off camera with Bev Turner, who was saying, you know, you won't know until you know. You might think it's going to be one way, but then it turns out to be something completely different when you're...
What, you mean I might not like having a child and I'll just give him back?
Well, you might really miss work and feel itching to get back, or you might just be absolutely glued to your baby.
Obviously, Tom and Mark, I'm going to be itching to come back, aren't I? I'm going to be wanting to zoom in, I'm going to be driving in,
I need you to rush back because he needs a firm hand, we know that, and you're the very person to keep him in his place.
Well, that's another thing that will be revealed shortly. We won't reveal it now, but who will be me?
Who's gonna fill your boots temporarily on Good Afternoon Britain?
Well, it's been flip-flops for a while, no longer the stilettos.
No, the advice is not to wear heels, is it? Or...
Yes, well, I've been told by many a woman who have got in touch, a lot of you getting in touch saying things like, you can't wear heels, it's not good for the pelvis.
Right.
Yes, so there you go. Anyway, that's enough of that, enough of female anatomy.
No, good to know. I would have thought that heels strengthen the pelvis, but you know, who knows?
Anyway, guess whether it's a boy or a girl, why not? Let us know. After the headlines.
Good afternoon. The top story is a woman who was jailed for stirring up racial hatred against asylum seekers online on the day of the Southport murders has been released from prison. 42-year-old Lucy Connelly, the wife of Conservative Councillor Raymond Connelly, was handed a 31-month sentence in October last year. In July last year, she'd posted on X saying mass deportation now set fire to all the hotels for all I care. She pleaded guilty to inciting racial hatred by publishing and distributing threatening or abusive written material. The former childminder from Northampton was ordered to serve 40% of her sentence in prison before being released on licence. New Home Office data shows a total of 32,059 asylum seekers were being housed temporarily in UK hotels at the end of Labour's first year in government, up 8% on the same point 12 months ago. The data also shows there was a record number of asylum claims in the UK in the past year, 111,000 up from the previous peak of 103,000 in 2002. Kemi Badenoch has called for more Conservative councils to launch legal challenges over asylum hotels as the government faces a potential revolt from its own local authorities. In a letter to Tory councils, Mrs Badenoch said she was encouraging them to take the same steps as Epping Council if your legal advice supports it. Labour dismissed her letter as desperate. Epping secured a temporary injunction from the High Court on Tuesday, blocking the use of the Essex town's Bell Hotel as accommodation for asylum seekers on planning grounds. The decision has prompted councils controlled by Labour, the Conservatives and Reform UK to investigate whether they could pursue a similar course of action. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp spoke to GB News.
Has lost control of our borders. The number of illegal immigrants crossing the Channel has surged under Labour. It's gone up by 47% since the general election. This year so far has been the worst ever. And because of Labour's border crisis, we're seeing people still being accommodated in these hotels. But now councils are fighting back, led by Conservative-run Epping. And we're now calling on other Conservative councils to look at legal challenges as well. And many are doing so, including Broxbourne next door.
A woman who flew from the US to kill a Birmingham shop owner as part of a violent feud has been jailed for 30 years. 45-year-old Amy Betro tried to shoot Sikander Ali outside of his home in the city in September of 2019, but the gun jammed and he fled. Betro was part of a plot with 31-year-old Mohammed Nabil Nazir and his father, 56-year-old Mohammed Aslam, who were in a feud with Mr Ali's family. During her trial today, Betro said she'd travelled to the UK on 2 previous occasions after meeting Nazir on a dating app. Students have received their GCSE results today, with the gender gap for top grades persisting. Nearly a quarter of girls achieved at least a grade 7 or A compared to almost a fifth of boys. It comes as 70.5% of girls were awarded at least a grade 4 or C compared to 64.3% of boys. The GCSE pass rate fell again, with 67.4% of all grades in England, Wales and Northern Ireland at 4C or above. Campaigners have issued a fresh call to ban smacking across the UK after a poll found more young adults think it's unacceptable. All corporal punishment of children, including shaking, slapping and hitting, became illegal in Wales in 2022. Scotland brought in a similar ban in 2020. But in England and Northern Ireland, it's unlawful to hit your child except where it's reasonable punishment, something that's judged on case by case. Health experts are urging Parliament to bring in a smacking ban across the country, with doctors and psychiatrists saying research shows the detrimental effects of physical punishment. A British woman believed to be the world's oldest living person has turned 116. Ethel Caterham, who lives in a care home in Surrey and is Britain's oldest ever person, took the world title in May following the death of a nun from Brazil. She was born in 1909, 5 years before the start of the First World War. In a statement, Ethel's family said she's spending her birthday quietly with her family so she can enjoy it at her own pace. And those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3468 and €1.1557. The price of gold, £2,479.43 per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 9,278 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 1. Now, in what will come as a bitter blow to the government's attempts to slash those immigration numbers, it's been revealed that 111,000 people applied for asylum during Sir Keir Starmer's first year in office. That is the highest ever on record.
Now, what town or city is that the equivalent to?
Exeter.
OK, so about the population of Exeter. And presumably, once these people are granted asylum, if they are, you can bring dependents, can you?
You can.
So it could, the number, you know, in terms of population growth might be quite higher than that. Anyway, the Home Office has also, data from the Home Office also shows that just over 32,000 asylum seekers were being housed in British hotels at the end of Labour's first year in government, an increase of 8%.
Well, that's despite the government pledging to end the use of those hotels by the end of the Parliament.
Well, Mark White's with us now, our Home Security Editor. He's been going through the data for us so you don't have to at home, so tell us.
Shall we just, as you mentioned, intriguingly, dependents there, I've got a little figure that can highlight how this is clearly an issue in terms of numbers coming over for those who are granted asylum or are staying here for other reasons. For instance, student visas, there were 414,000 student visas issued in the year to June this year.
414,000?
414,000, yeah.
What size of city is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking a big city.
Gosh, our universities are just so dependent on foreign students, aren't they?
We're up about the size of Edinburgh now, I think.
Yeah, or I think Manchester, not Greater Manchester, of course, but I think Manchester's about 500,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Just in the confines of the city. So that's actually a reduction of 4% on the same period last year. And of those visas for dependents, remember that the Conservative government in its dying days brought in changes to stop the vast majority of student visas, the students bringing in their dependents. And that's meant that there's been a fall of 81% in the number of student visa dependent applications. Still 18,000.
I mean, it is fairly extraordinary that students can bring dependents at all. I mean, when I was at university, I didn't bring my sister. I didn't bring my mum.
You were only going from Cambridge to Durham, though, to be fair.
But here's the kicker, right? Although now, because of the changes the Conservatives brought in, we're seeing dependents coming down in terms of areas like student visas. For asylum seekers, there's a contrast here. There's an increase. So refugee family reunion visas, they're called, are up from 16,000 last year to 21,000 in the year to June, largely due, we're told, to the higher number of individuals that are granted
That's a big increase.
It is a big increase.
About 33% or something.
And the more asylum seekers who are here and granted asylum, I mean, it's logical, isn't it? You know, everybody says you're going to bring their family. Well, this is proof they're bringing their family.
Mark, is this not a direct consequence of the government's approach, which is to clear the backlog?
Yes.
Which is arguably making decisions faster, and the fastest way to make a decision is to say yes, not no, because no invites appeals.
Yes.
So if you want to get rid of that backlog as fast as humanly possible, you're going to be very generous with how many you grant.
Yeah. That's exactly right. In a faster approach to what? A faster approach to saying, yeah, you can stay. Because as we've discussed before on this show and others, the vast majority of people who are coming across on small boats stay here. They don't get returned because even if they don't qualify for asylum, with the exception of Albanians, for instance, the vast majority don't get returned to their home countries because they're deemed to be unsafe under various kind of international human rights metrics. So you don't get sent back to those countries and you get instead what's called indefinite leave to remain. So these people are still here in very significant numbers, and at some point they're taking over families as well, all adding to the ongoing strain on the social fabric of communities right across the country.
Just very lastly, do we have any idea of so men coming over on small boats to this country? Do we have an idea of how many of them have been able to then secure family reunion visas for families back home, or do we not have that kind of breakdown?
We can only sort of extrapolate ourselves from what we know, in the sense that 87% currently at the moment, it's right up to 87% of those coming across on small boats are male. So from that, you can pretty much guess that the majority of those who are taking family members over are going to be male, just by virtue of the fact they are vastly overrepresented in terms of those coming across.
Okay. So interesting.
Well, Mark White, thank you indeed for breaking that down for us. Shall we speak now to Carl Williams, the Research Director at the Centre for Policy Studies? Carl, it's interesting to note that those who come across on boats make up just 39% of these figures of asylum applications. Where do the rest come from?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's astonishing when you think about it that there are people coming here on the pretence of studying or working, and then claiming asylum, often within a year of arriving, often within weeks or months. So I think there's 15,000 students, over 12,000 workers just in the last year.
And if you're granted refugee status in this country, you become a lot more expensive, don't you, for the British taxpayer, because you then have a right to housing, have a right to various benefits, have a right to use the NHS freely, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think what's drawing people over on legal routes to claim asylum is the same that's drawing people over the small boats. They know that when you're here, it's very hard to remove you. There's 60 or 70% chance you'll get asylum. And if you don't, you can hide behind human rights laws and you'll probably stay in the long term anyway. And if you are granted asylum, then yes, access to the NHS, to benefits, etc. And the data for Britain is not very good on how much the long-term cost of a refugee or an asylum seeker is. But the comparative data from countries like Denmark, we're looking at 500,000 over their lifetimes, potentially more.
I mean, this is extraordinary. Can we zoom in on the student visas here? Because students, of course, should be a big financial bonus for this country. People pay through the nose to come here. You have to have X number of £1,000 for your tuition fees and for your living as well. You have to pay a surcharge to use the NHS, all of this stuff. It should be net fiscal positive. But if you come here for a one-year master's programme at some dodgy pretend university and immediately claim asylum, as it appears 15,000 people did, then suddenly what was designed to be an economic bonus for the country becomes a fiscal drain.
Yeah, completely. I mean, there's a whole government strategy designed under the last government to boost the UK university sector as a sort of an export market. Through massively increasing student numbers, which is what's happened. But as you say, a lot of that is driven by sort of these slightly dodgy master's courses at lower quality institutions. That's about 95% of the growth. And it's not clear that these people are adding anything to the labour market, even when they're not claiming asylum. If they're transitioning onto work visas or graduate visa route, a lot of them are doing low-wage work in, for example, health and social care. And in the meantime, they are working in Deliveroo, in the gig economy. They're not sort of the best and brightest, substantial net contributors.
I mean, Carl, I remember back in the days of Theresa May, when she was talking about how we're going to shut down these bogus colleges, we're going to make sure that the visa system for study visas isn't abused by people who want to come here for other reasons and then want to apply. I mean, this issue has been going on for so long. Surely it's not impossible to get a grip of, Carl?
I mean, the thing is, Theresa May did get a grip on it. They closed down some of the post-study routes. They went after the bogus colleges. They basically fixed the problem, and student visa applications from the countries which were the worst abusers of the system, like India and Pakistan, collapsed massively. The problem is the last government introduced the graduate visa route, which allows you to stay for 2 years after your studies, and there's no salary thresholds, no limits on what work you can do. And that has been a massive draw for people. And
perhaps it should be a route only for elite institutions rather than any...
Boris Johnson's liberalisation, wasn't it?
But I do want to just ask, why this year, the highest year on record? What has changed? I mean, the last peak was in 2002, and that was less than what we see now. Why is this the highest ever year for asylum applications?
Well, I think part of it is just the information filtering out through social media, the realisation that you can come here legally and find ways to game the system. And then on the small boat side, I think scrapping the Rwanda deterrent, I mean, it's very hard to measure these things, but clearly that was having some influence. And Labour's talking about smashing the gangs, as though the last government wasn't doing that. That's not working. Since Labour came to power, 124 people have crossed the channel in small boats per day on average. If you extrapolate that out to the end of the Parliament, we should expect another 180,000 on top of the 50,000 to date.
Wow. Well, Carl Williams, thank you very much indeed for your time. Research Director at the Centre for Policy Studies.
Well, now Lucy Connelly, the woman who was jailed for inciting racial hatred against asylum seekers on the day of the Southport murders, has been released from prison. Yes, the
42-year-old, married to Conservative Councillor Raymond Connelly, has walked free from HMP Peterborough this morning after serving part of a 31-month sentence.
Well, let's discuss this further with the academic and free speech campaigner, Professor Frank Furedi. Frank, thanks so much for joining us. This is, I suppose, a day of thanks, of victory for free speech campaigners, but my goodness me, she's not out of the woods yet, still on licence, and was behind bars for more than 9 months.
Yeah, I think what has happened is that increasingly the government is using the criminal code and the law to send a message. This is what we call an expressivist law that's designed to express a particular view. And poor old Lucy was, in a sense, the target of this. And even though she was responsible for putting out an awful tweet, the very idea that you criminalize her to the point at which she's sort of a heavier sentence than people who have committed very brutal crimes is really a sign of the danger that we're now facing, where if you oppose politically the standpoint of the government, and particularly if you dare say things that you don't want people to know about or said, they're going to come down on you. And I think it's a tragedy that British justice has kind of stood so low and has really, adopted such a semi-totalitarian approach towards law that we have to ask the question, what's going to happen to the rule of law and to the basic elements of justice in our society?
What do you say to those who would argue, well, she shouldn't have pled guilty then?
I totally agree. I think that if she had a proper lawyer, a good lawyer, then it's very clear to me that a jury would have probably would have criticized her, would have made certain points that this should not have happened, but they would not have put her in a position where she would have been jailed. I mean, the idea that you jail a mother of an 11, 12-year-old child for a tweet that she felt remorse about and she withdrew does not sit with the standards of justice and the standards of expectations that you have when you talk about criminalizing and jailing people. And I'm fairly certain that this was a bit of a mistake on somebody's part to get her to plead guilty.
What do you say to those who say that, OK, the tweet in and of itself in isolation shouldn't have sent her to prison, but in the context of the violence, people were firebombing hotels around that time. The government's argument is that this contributed to real-world harm and can't just be looked at in isolation as text posted on a social media website. What do you say to those claims?
I think there is an important point here, which is that in a very difficult, fluid situation where things become polarized and violence erupts, it is wrong to put out tweets that she did. There's no doubt about that. But you have to remember that she took the step of getting rid of her tweets. She basically expressed remorse for what she has done. And the idea that somehow she was single-handedly responsible for the kind of violence, the unfortunate violence that erupted, I think beggars belief. And it seems to me that the real reason why she was so severely punished wasn't because of the nature of her offense. It had to do with the fact that the government did not want people to say anything that called into question the policy on mass migration.
Well, she was certainly made an example of, that's for sure. Professor Frank Furedi, thank you very much indeed. Academic and free speech campaign, always great to chat.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more to come, including this story. The UK Space Agency will cease to exist as an independent entity, thanks to new cuts from the government.
Yes, but after the break, an SNP politician, well, they've been branded shameless for launching a bid to drop the oath of allegiance to King Charles in the Scottish Parliament. We're going to discuss that.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 1. Now, a senior SNP politician has been branded shameless after launching a bid to drop the oath of allegiance to King Charles in the Scottish Parliament, saying members of the Parliament should be instead pledging their allegiance to the people of Scotland.
Yes, Kevin Stewart started his campaign after Grenada, one of the 15 countries where the king is head of state, decided to drop the oath of allegiance from its national parliament. So he presumably thought I'd follow suit.
Well, the Scottish Conservatives have slammed Mr Stewart and accused the SNP of focusing on constitutional navel-gazing instead of tackling real priorities.
Well, GB News Royal correspondent Cameron Walker joins us now to discuss. It's all a bit student union, isn't it, Cameron?
Well, it is a little bit tit for tat, isn't it? Perhaps they're a bit bored in the August period and the summer period. Yes, so this motion has about 10 supporters from the SNP, 1 from Labour and 1 from Green at the last count. No Conservatives, funnily enough. The pledge basically says we want to swear allegiance to the people of Scotland rather than the King. The rules, as it stands, date back to the Scotland Act of 1998, which is, of course, a UK-wide piece of legislation, which means even if any vote was passed in Holyrood, it wouldn't make a difference because it's, of course, it's the UK Parliament that would have to either change the law or give more devolved powers to the Scottish Parliament. So the cynic in me and the criticism would be that it's a bit of a publicity stunt because he's not actually going to change the rules. But, of course, Republicans will say, well, this is a reminder that we do, Republicans, against our will, still have to swear an oath to King Charles. Because, of course, if they refuse to do so, they're not allowed to sit in Parliament, not allowed to vote in Parliament, or indeed sit in the chamber itself.
I can understand why, from a Scottish nationalist perspective, you might not want to have this oath front and centre. After all, it reminds Scots of the history of that country, that the original Scottish Parliament opened with an oath to the King, or indeed the Queen, and it was James VI and First who united the crowns, who went from being King of Scotland to also being King of England, setting our countries on the trade to union. And I suppose if you're a nationalist, you kind of want to forget the hundreds of years that these two countries have been under one form or other of political union.
Yeah, and Kevin Stewart, the MSP, the SNP one, who has lodged this motion, says, my loyalty is to the folk of Aberdeen and to the people of Scotland as a whole, and every politician should feel likewise. Of course, the Scottish Conservatives have taken a lot of umbrage to that in a saying that he should be focusing on the real issues like NHS waiting times, the growing economy and restoring standards in our schools, etc., etc. And you may think, well, is he really? Is any new MSP really going to be banned from Parliament if they don't swear allegiance to the King? Well, something very similar, you may remember last year, happened in Westminster when the Labour MP Clive Lewis didn't do the oath properly, protested, said that I take this oath under protest, and then was reminded under the Parliamentary Oaths Act of 1866 that he could be fined or indeed have to vacate his seat if he don't do it properly.
That was so annoying. He had to do it again, didn't he? And he still did it in a bit of a sneaky way.
Traditional way to do it with protest, as SNP members of the House of Commons
They go
has
like this,
usually
don't
done. Yeah, you cross your hands behind your back as you say the oath. I mean, there are...
That's still so naff.
But it's time-honoured, and if you're a principled Republican, I mean, fair enough, make your little protest. But I suppose a lot of people will be asking the question, is this really the priority of a country that is experiencing zero economic growth, where energy bills are through the roof, where trade wars are raging around the world, and people are feeling less secure in their own houses?
Well, that's what the Scottish Conservative MSP Murdo Fraser has told us. He made that exact points, Tom, but they should be focusing on the real issues of this country. Of course, the SNP would take umbrage to what he said. But the fact of the matter is, swearing allegiance to the Crown is a UK-wide constitutional principle, regardless of whether you live in Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland or England. And it would have to be such a fundamental change to our constitution for any public body, whether it's Parliament, whether it's being a juror in the courts of law, etc. You swear an oath, don't you, to anything? But particularly in the UK Parliament, you swear an oath to the Crown, to the head of state, which at the moment is King Charles, and of course his heirs and successors.
Does make you think, you know, why some of these politicians go into politics. It's because they just have these little long-held principles that they can't get over and they can't bend. I mean, these principles of like, oh, I'm not going to take an oath to King Charles. I mean, it's seriously lame, isn't it?
Well, it's also so introspective, because I would reckon most people in Scotland don't spend all that much time thinking about their poor MSP who once every 4 or 5 years might have to say an oath.
No, but also arguably they're not thinking much about the Crown either. I think there is probably quite a lot of indifference, and it doesn't really matter what oath they do or do not swear at the start of a parliamentary session. They want the politicians, I would suggest, to focus on the real issues such as the NHS, education in Scotland particularly.
You take away the oath, though, what goes next, you know? Cameron Walker, thank you very much indeed. Interested to see what you think at home. Do you think all of our politicians should have to swear an oath of allegiance to the King?
Or perhaps just an oath of honesty?
Well, that'd be nice, yeah. When approached by GB News, Mr Stewart said, my loyalty is to the folk of Aberdeen and to the people of Scotland as a whole, and every politician should feel likewise.
Well, now it's time for the great British giveaway across Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland and England. Yes, you could be mortgage or rent-free for a year with 5,000 quid on top tax-free cash, or 15 grand if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay. Here's the details.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year in the latest Great British Giveaway. That's right, we'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We've got a lot more coming up, actually. Has Rachel Reeves declared a war on Britain's homeowner? Yes, data reveals that government debt has ballooned by almost £200 billion in just 1 year. So the Chancellor, she's looking at ways to raise more tax. Could your home be next?
But after the break, robbed, set on fire, ripped off and forced to tackle thieves herself. We'll be joined by the owner of Britain's most targeted shop. That's after your latest news headlines.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The top stories. Lucy Connelly, who was jailed over a hate tweet against asylum seekers online on the day of the Southport murders, has been released from prison. Kemi Badenoch has called for more Conservative councils to launch legal challenges over asylum hotels as the government faces a potential revolt from its own local authorities. Students have received their GCSE results with the gender gap for top grades persisting. Nearly a quarter of girls achieved at least a grade 7 or A compared to almost a fifth of boys. Campaigners have issued fresh calls to ban smacking across the UK after a poll found more young adults think it's unacceptable. And Amy Betro, a US woman disguised in a niqab whose gun jammed during a failed assassination plot in Birmingham, has been jailed for 30 years. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. Here's your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of dry weather to come for many of us as we go through the end of the week and into the long bank holiday weekend. At the moment, there's quite a slack flow across us. There's an area of high pressure just to the south of Iceland. But whilst that's bringing a lot of dry weather, it is also allowing for a bit of a northerly breeze to push through. So that's going to keep things a little bit fresher along those North Sea coastal parts, a bit breezy towards eastern parts as well. Elsewhere, a dry story though, and we are going to see some sunshine breaking through. The best of the sunshine towards the southwest and also across parts of northern Scotland. In the sunshine, it's going to feel pleasantly warm, temperatures in the low 20s, but like I say, towards those eastern coastal parts, feeling a bit fresher, especially with that breeze. Now, as we go through into this evening, for many it's going to stay dry and fine, particularly across much of Scotland. Some decent sunshine to end the day here as well. Meanwhile, across the southern parts of Scotland, the borders area, the cloud could be thick enough at times through today and into this evening for a few spots of rain. Similar across parts of Northern Ireland, some parts of Northern England. Elsewhere, though, across the rest of England and Wales, yes, there could be some cloud lingering, and if you're under the cloud, it's always going to feel that bit cooler, but on the whole, it's going to stay dry and at times quite bright. Overnight, it's a case of chasing the cloud, because where we see the cloud lingering, it will keep temperatures from dropping too much. But where we see the cloud disappearing and clearing away, we're going to see our temperatures dropping. So whilst most towns and cities will just about hold up in double figures, in rural spots we could see temperatures dropping to around 2 to 5 Celsius. So a bit of a chilly start tomorrow morning. There could be some fog patches first thing, but these will quite quickly clear. And then again, for many, it's a largely dry day. Not totally dry, perhaps a bit more cloud, a few outbreaks of rain towards some parts of northwest Scotland, maybe the odd spot of rain where the cloud's thick enough across England and Wales as well, but most places staying dry and most places a little bit warmer than today as well. Bye-bye.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Significant traffic restrictions impact roads today. The M4 eastbound junction 42 on-slip is closed due to roadworks, with diversions set. Nottinghamshire sees A46 northbound delays between A1133 and A1434 due to congestion. In Suffolk, the A14 westbound faces disruptions between junction 57 Ipswich East and junction 56 Ipswich Docks because of a broken down vehicle. And on the trains, major disruptions affect Merseyrail through Hamilton Square and Avanti West Coast services between Wigan, Northwestern, Coventry and Birmingham International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. Britain is coming up to 20 to 2. Now, Britain's most targeted shop has been robbed of more than £400,000 in stock.
Yes, the owner of Dress Cheshire, Christine Colbert, has had her shop looted. She's had it blown up by a petrol bomb, and she's even been forced to tackle the thieves herself.
Well, joining us now is the owner of Dress Cheshire, Christine Colbert. Christine, this sounds like the most dramatic tale. I mean, how many times has your shop been targeted?
Yeah, quite a number of times. It's been unprecedented, and if someone could have wheeled me back in time and told me what was going to happen, I'm not sure how I would have dealt with knowing that. But we've had 2 major burglaries, March 24 and then June of this year. So £180,000, 3 men scaled the back of the building, took a window out, and they were in and out in 6 minutes. So they took £180,000 worth of handbags that time. By the August of that year in 2024, the building next door was subject to a major arson attack. So we had a huge explosion. So police knocking on my door again to turn off our gas. So the building next door was an inferno. How we didn't burn down, I have no idea. So that was very traumatic. And then, of course, we've had the burglary this year where 3 men, it was very, very well planned, 3 men tunnelled in through the wall behind me. Actually, this is a chimney breast. So they were actually planning it for about a week. We've got very sophisticated CCTV. Of course, they did it at night. We didn't hear the drilling. It was very, very loud all night. How nobody heard it, I've got no idea. But they came in and they stole £260,000 worth of handbags in 3 minutes.
Oh, my goodness. Now, your shop, I mean, what a spate of bad luck. Oh, my goodness. But, I mean, you're in what's called the Golden Triangle in Cheshire, yes? So this is Wilmslow, Alderley Edge, I don't know what the other...
Yeah, Prestbury, which is where I'm based, Prestbury Village, yeah.
Very affluent area, very affluent area. Lots of luxury shops and the like. You clearly sell some very expensive goods to people. I mean, is it what you expect now?
No, I think what's happened is, I mean, I am a small boutique in a village, but we are an online business. So, and we're a social media selling business as well. So, and we do sell designer handbags and luxury fashion. It's recycling, it's sustainable, it's a great way of shopping. But it has made us a target. Definitely, I feel like a target because we've had to display our wares all over our website, all over our social media, and it worries me who's watching. But we've, you know, what can I do? You know, we've had so many attempts, and it's not just been the burglaries and the arson was indirectly, but almost blew us up. But the 2 burglaries, I've had shoplifters, I've had people coming in attempting terminal fraud, so trying to tackle my device at the counter and get themselves funds. So there's been every possible way, and my online store as well. There's a lot of transactions. I've got very secure payment gateways, but I can see the fraudulent transactions that try to get through. So I do feel like it's an attack, you know, constant attack, online, offline, the store. You know, what next? You know, what do I have to do to protect my business? I've got bars on the windows, shutters on every window. I've got anti-climb spikes around my building. I shouldn't have to have that in a beautiful, idyllic village, but we've had to put it in. I've got a fully monitored security team. I've got direct-to-police alarm systems in. I've got things on the windows, though if they try and take a window out, it'll set my alarm off. Do I have to now put them on all my walls?
I mean, yeah.
But this just speaks to how damaging crime is, because that's so much investment that should have been going into your business, that should have been growing your business, growing the economy, paying your staff, and instead it's putting spikes on the outside of your beautiful shop. I mean, it's just an astonishing sort of, well, not a waste of resources because it's so necessary, but in a safe society, all of that money would have been put to such better causes.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, even down to the fact that we put a security screamer alarm on every one of our bags as well. Now, all of that costs me money. All of this security has cost me money. I sell other people's goods for them. You know, we're a pre-owned shop. So, and I've invested a huge amount of my own money, because this is a personal business, this is an independent business, this is my money, on protecting other people's items. And I think that's why they trust me as well, you know, their items. And we're fully insured. You know, Aviva have been amazing as an insurance company. They've been, you know, nearly £500,000.
Christine, we're just running out of time, so just one last question to you. Are you going to keep your shop open? You're going to keep going as normal?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no way anyone is going to derail me. Not a chance.
What a fantastic attitude. I do hope this ends for you.
Yeah.
I mean, so many incidents.
Absolutely. It sounds like an absolute nightmare, but it sounds like you're an incredibly strong person who's battling through it. Christine Colbert, thanks so much for joining us, owner of Dress Cheshire.
Yeah, that's the reality of crime, isn't it? GB News has reached out to Cheshire Police for a comment. We're yet to hear a response.
But this is Good Afternoon Britain. So much more to come on today's programme, including it's Emily's last day before maternity leave. We've got a big surprise inside that cake.
So stick around for that. But if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hot and sunny conditions continue across much of Spain and Portugal. A few heavy showers likely in Croatia. A fairly brisk wind blowing in Sardinia. Quite breezy too in southern parts of Portugal. But most of Spain and Portugal dry, fine and sunny. Just a small chance of a shower in Ibiza. Much greater chance of seeing some heavy showers across Croatia. Fine and sunny for most of the Greek islands and Turkey. That will continue through the weekend as well. Goodbye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Sunday with Michael Portillo. A bridge between Italy and Sicily was envisaged by the Romans. But just this week, the Italian government has approved the €13.5 billion project. There remain concerns that the money intended for the project could be siphoned off by the Cosa Nostra. Joining us now live from Rome is historian Alexander Mariotti. Alexander, it's absolutely great to see you.
Thank you.
Tell me about the Roman plan. How did they intend to get across from the mainland to Sicily?
Well, it seems that, according to the sources, they were successful in 250 BC during the Sicilian Wars. But it was a pontoon bridge. It was a temporary bridge. And the purpose was to transport war elephants across for the Romans. Now, temporary bridges, all really they could have done. And in fact, the fact that there's no bridge today speaks to the difficulty of actually constructing it for a couple of reasons. One of the main ones is just the gale force winds that happen to pass through the Straits of Messina, not to mention that there's an incredible amount of seismic activity that took place. So even the great engineers of the Romans who were able to build the Colosseum did not foresee a feasible bridge that could connect the two pieces of land.
Mm-hmm. Now, the seismic risk, yes, indeed. I mean, Messina was devastated in an earthquake. If I recall, at the beginning of the 20th century, you must put me right. But do we think we've dealt with the seismic risk?
Well, you're absolutely correct. The 1908 earthquake was absolutely devastating. First of all, it killed between 70 to 85,000 people, not to mention the tsunamis that it created. So there is that risk. Now, in fairness, there's bridges in Japan that are completely adept to dealing with the seismic activity. So the engineers themselves on this project are fairly confident that that's not going to be an issue.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 10 to 2. Now, from next year, the UK Space Agency, yes, we've got a space agency, it will no longer be an independent body, so perhaps not for long. No, it's set to be absorbed into the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology under the leadership of Peter Kyle.
Well, the government claim the move is necessary to cut costs and to ensure decisions are made with clear ministerial oversight. But there are some fears that space is being deprioritised.
Well, we can speak with this further with Dr. Peter Haig, who's the space analyst at planetocracy.org. Peter, thanks so much for being on the show with us. This seems like it's been criticised as a move by a lot of people who really care about space. A lot of people might not know how important space actually is to the British economy.
Yes. Folding the space agency up into DSIT, I think it's a signal that the government's not really very serious about space. But to be fair to them, I don't think we've ever had a government in this country that is serious about space. They're saying that the budget will remain the same for now, but they're not going to have their own unique budget anymore. It's going to be part of the DSIT budget. And this will obviously be end up competing in the long term against against other priorities that DSIT has, like life sciences, for instance. So there is a risk that even if the budget stays the same in the immediate term, in the long term, it will go down, and the budget was not very high to start with.
Well, the government aren't always the most efficient people at doing things in general. What might the impact be of the government taking more control over this area?
Well, they say it'll reduce bureaucracy, but the people I've talked to in industry are somewhat sceptical of that. Now, they're also saying that there'll be more ministerial oversight, but as it was, there was a direct reporting from the head of the UK Space Agency to a minister, I believe it was Chris Bryant, and now they'll be reporting to DSIT management. So even if there is less bureaucracy overall, and they claim, then there'll probably be more layers of bureaucracy between ministers and the space agency, such as it is inside DSIT.
Peter, some people might ask, why do we need a space agency at all in Britain? I mean, doesn't NASA have this covered? The Americans are a far wealthier country than we are. They're the ones who lead on moon landings and space stations. The Chinese are setting up a space station of their own. They're going to be landing on the moon too soon. I mean, why should the British be involved in this? Shouldn't we leave it to the superpowers?
Well, even if we don't want to be one of the superpowers, we still want to be a power. We still want to be a country of some significance. And if we just leave this to the Americans and the Chinese, then they'll just take over and they'll divide the solar system between them, and everyone else will be left behind.
Divide the solar system between them?
Well, yeah, eventually. I mean, even in the shorter term, if you look at the next election in 2029, that's what it's scheduled for. By this point, this is just going on projects that are well under development now. You'll have had, humans will have returned to the moon by 2029, and they'll be staying this time. India will have put humans into space on their own rockets. You'll have private space stations, and there'll likely be a SpaceX Starship sitting on the surface of Mars, ready for making preparations for human missions there. So if this is happening...
is this a bit like the world in the 15 and 1600s? You know, Sweden was a great empire in the 1600s, but they never really did much colonisation. They didn't send their people out to North America or South America like the British and the Spanish did. And now, obviously, Britain and Spain are no longer the level of powers that they were a few hundred years ago, but their descendants, if you will, the colonies that we set up, all of the South American countries, the North American countries too, they are now sort of such large economic players. If we don't land people on Mars, is it too science fiction to say that we're sort of going to miss out on the next century?
Not at all. I think it's. I think that's very true. That if we don't pay in and have a stake in this new future, then we won't get to have a say in it either.
Well, Peter, absolutely. Peter, we're going to have to leave it there because we're running to the end of the hour. We really appreciate your time. Peter Haig there, space analyst at planetocracy.org. But breaking news, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has commented on Lucy Connelly's prison release.
He says, "Welcome to freedom, Lucy Connelly. You are now a symbol of Keir Starmer's authoritarian, broken two-tier Britain."
Yes, well, back in October last year, the 42-year-old woman was jailed, of course, over a hate tweet against asylum seekers on the day of the Southport murders.
We'll have much more reaction to the political situation here over free speech in Britain. Do stick around to Good Afternoon Britain. All of that to come. Much more reaction after your very latest weather forecast.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, as we go towards the long bank holiday weekend, we are going to have high pressure building, so things are going to be largely dry and increasingly warm, but currently we still have the influence of high pressure, but it is bringing a bit of a northerly flow, which is why things have been a bit fresher, a bit cooler towards those eastern coastal parts. And we do have a fair bit of cloud for quite a few of us through the rest of today, but some of that cloud is going to break up a bit more as we go through the evening and overnight. And where we get those clear skies, well, that's where we're likely to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop. Some rural spots could fall as low as 2, 3, 4 degrees, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, most towns and cities holding up in double digits. It is going to be a generally dry night, but there could be some pockets of mist and fog first thing tomorrow morning, but they're quite quickly going to clear away. Towards the south, across the southwest, a bright sunny start tomorrow morning, and across parts of the southeast, more central parts and into Wales, a bit more cloud. And where we get the cloud, there could be a few spots of rain across parts of North Wales, northwest England, maybe Northern Ireland too, and the borders area of Scotland could have a little bit of drizzly rain at times. But further north, across western parts of Scotland, a brighter start, central and eastern parts having a little bit more cloud. Then through the day itself tomorrow, again, some cloudy weather continuing in some places, so some places staying a little bit grey, but most of us will see some brighter spells breaking through at times. Perhaps a good deal of sunshine across much of Scotland, northwest England. Elsewhere, the cloud lingering a little bit. Under the cloud, feeling a little cooler perhaps, but in any sunny breaks, we're looking at temperatures getting into the low 20s. Temperatures on paper a little bit higher than today. Then through the evening, we're going to stay pretty similar, so largely dry, a few spots of rain perhaps, but most places avoiding this, and some clearer skies towards the north. Like I said, through into the bank holiday weekend, lots of fine weather to come, often quite sunny, and temperatures rising as well. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle to Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 21st of August. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Now, breaking news, the Home Office has released their latest immigration statistics. UK asylum applications hit a record 111,000 under this government.
Yes, and the number of asylum seekers housed in hotels is up as well, 8% on 12 months ago.
And it may surprise a number of people to learn, which camera, this one? Or this one. I've only been doing it for 30 years. You know. It may surprise a number of people to learn that Pakistan is the #1 country represented among asylum seekers.
We're here in the northeast at the Last Post Memorial Bar in Thornaby. We're speaking to veterans here about those immigration figures and what it means to people in this area.
And Lucy Connelly has been released from prison after serving 9 months in jail. The 42-year-old childminder was jailed for inciting racial hatred on social media after the Southport murders.
And has Rachel Reeves declared war on Britain's homeowners? Yes, data reveals government debt has ballooned by almost £200 billion in just 1 year. How are we going to pay for it all? Could it be your house that's hit next?
And it's GCSE results day. Yes, pass rates have fallen, though top grades have risen in a mixed day of results in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. But the Education Secretary says 4/5 of children from white working class backgrounds are falling short in English and math skills required in life. We're asking, are the parents to blame?
And stay tuned, because it would be rude not to stay tuned, because it's my last day before I head off on maternity leave, and we have a big surprise there. You can see the cake. If you're listening on radio, there's a cake, delicious looking cake, with boy or girl question mark on it. What will it be, eh? I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a bit peckish now.
Well, Mark, you see what we're doing here? We're looking at the correct camera.
Yes, I can see this one, it's moving.
Well, there you go. And it's got a little...
my age, the eyesight goes.
Well, now it's this one. We could play fun games if the gallery's going to be quick with it. I mean, I don't know which...
That's it, I'm dizzy. I need to go and lie down now.
Guys, it's not Friday yet.
No, it's not quite Friday. It does feel a bit of a Friday feeling, though, because, Emily, it is, of course, your last day for some time.
It is, yes. And Mark is worried about who's going to keep you in check, Tom.
This is true. This is what you have been saying. We're not going to quite reveal who is going to be the...
Come on, you can't build me up just to knock me down like that.
Well, Mark is going to keep you in check.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, because you always deliver us brilliant news on this show. I'm going to miss you.
I wouldn't
categorise
it as brilliant.
Dramatic.
Something quite miserable.
We take advantage of you quite a bit, don't we? We have you in every hour, delivering your reports.
Well, what else would I be? I would only be sort of just sitting at home in a rocking chair, supping some cocoa.
Yeah, with your now internet
with my
famous cats.
My cat Leo and Oscar. Yeah, exactly.
No, but of course you are presenting yourself this weekend.
Oh, yes.
Are you?
Well, I'm going to try and figure out which camera to look at as I'll be presenting breakfast, hello there, with the lovely Anne Diamond.
Oh, my goodness, I did not know
feel sorry
this.
for her now.
Yeah, no, it's going to be...
I'm going to tune into that.
We've got to wake up at 6 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Oh, I will do.
You won't be to bed by that time. That's the usual sort of.
I'll be away in the Mediterranean.
Well, you definitely won't be in bed by that time.
Well, I don't know. It's.
Or you could be stinking in bed, probably. Longer.
Well, how boozy do you think my family holiday is going to be?
I don't know.
I'm going to be very, very well behaved.
But there you go. That's trumped my news that I'm going off on maternity leave. The big news today is that Mark White is presenting breakfast on Saturday, so stay tuned for that.
No, the big news is you, my darling. We're going to miss you.
Yeah, you can tell that because Mark doesn't have a cake, but you do.
Exactly. There you go.
Yes, an oversight there, perhaps. Anyway, please do get in touch throughout the rest of the show, gbnews.com/your say, but let's get to the headlines.
Emily, thank you. The top stories: a woman who was jailed over a hate tweet against asylum seekers online on the day of the Southport murders has been released from prison. 42-year-old Lucy Connelly, the wife of Conservative Councillor Raymond Connelly, was handed a 31-month sentence in October last year. In July last year, she'd posted on X, saying mass deportation now set fire to all the hotels for all I care. She pleaded guilty to inciting racial hatred by publishing and distributing threatening or abusive written material. The former childminder from Northampton was ordered to serve 40% of her sentence in prison before being released on licence. Breaking news now. London Underground workers are to stage a series of strikes next month in a dispute over paying conditions, the RMT union has announced. Eddie Dempsey, the General Secretary of the RMT, said different grades of staff will take industrial action at different times, starting at midday on Sunday the 7th of September. More on this breaking story as we get it. Elsewhere, new Home Office data shows there was a record number of asylum claims in the UK in the past year, 111,000, up from the previous peak of 103,000 in 2002. Kemi Badenoch has called for more Conservative councils to launch legal challenges over asylum hotels as the government faces a potential revolt from its own local authorities. Labour dismissed her calls in the form of a letter as desperate and nonsense. Epping secured a temporary injunction from the High Court on Tuesday, blocking the use of the Essex's Bell Hotel as accommodation for asylum seekers on planning grounds. The decision has prompted councils controlled by Labour, Tories and Reform UK to investigate whether they could pursue a similar course of action. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp spoke to GB News.
Has lost control of our borders. The number of illegal immigrants crossing the Channel has surged under Labour. It's gone up by 47% since the general election. This year so far has been the worst ever. And because of Labour's border crisis, we're seeing people still being accommodated in these hotels. But now councils are fighting back, led by Conservative-run Epping. And we're now calling on other Conservative councils to look at legal challenges as well. And many are doing so, including Broxbourne next door.
A woman who flew from the US to kill a Birmingham shop owner as part of a violent feud has been jailed for 30 years. 45-year-old Amy Betro tried to shoot Sikander Ali outside his home in the city in September of 2019, but the gun jammed and he fled. Betro was part of a plot with 31-year-old Mohammed Nabil Nazir and his father, 56-year-old Mohammed Aslam, who were in a feud with Mr. Ali's family. During her trial, Betro said she'd travelled to the UK on 2 previous occasions after meeting Nazir on a dating app. Students have received their GCSE results today, with the gender gap for top grades persisting. Nearly a quarter of girls achieved at least a grade 7 or A compared to almost a fifth of boys. It comes as 70.5% of girls were awarded at least a grade 4 or C compared to 64.3% of boys. The GCSE pass rate fell again, with 67.4% of all grades in England, Wales and Northern Ireland at 4 or C and above. Government borrowing in the UK slowed to a lower than expected £1.1 billion in July, according to official figures. The Office for National Statistics said the figure, which was £2.3 billion less than the same month the year earlier, is the lowest July borrowing figure for 3 years. Borrowing for the first 4 months of the financial year stood at £60 billion, £6.7 billion more than during the same period last year. Campaigners have issued a fresh call to ban smacking across the UK. It's after a poll found more young adults think it's unacceptable. All corporal punishment of children, including shaking, slapping and hitting, became illegal in Wales in 2022. Scotland brought in a similar ban in 2020. However, in England and Northern Ireland, it's unlawful to hit your child except where it's reasonable punishment, something that's judged on a case-by-case basis. Health experts have urged Parliament to bring in smacking, a ban on smacking across the UK, with doctors and psychiatrists saying research shows the detrimental effects of physical punishment. And a British woman believed to be the world's oldest living person has turned 116. Ethel Caterham, who lives in a care home in Surrey and is Britain's oldest ever person, took the world title in May following the death of a nun from Brazil. She was born in 1909, 5 years before the start of the First World War. In a statement, Ethel's family said she's spending her birthday quietly with her family so she can enjoy it at her own pace. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3454 and €1.1558. The price of gold, £2,484.05 per ounce. The FTSE 100's at 9,271 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 10 minutes past 2. Now, in what will come as a bitter blow to the government's attempts to slash those immigration numbers, it's revealed that 111,000 people applied for asylum during the Prime Minister's first year in office. This, a new record.
It's a huge figure, isn't it? And the Home Office data also shows that just over 32,000 asylum seekers are being housed in British hotels at the end of Labour's first year in government, an increase of 8% on the previous year.
Well, it's all despite, of course, the government's pledging to end the use of asylum hotels by the end of the Parliament. But shall we get some of the details now with Mark White, our Home and Security Editor? Because, Mark, I mean, was anyone expecting the numbers to be this large?
I'm not sure that they were, but, you know, clearly, from the government's point of view, they might have been having a bit of a sigh of relief that we haven't had any migrant crossings in the Channel, but now the stark realisation, of course, that asylum numbers are going up. And it's only, the Channel's 39% of the asylum applications. Most are made up of those who arrive in the country through usually legal means, through student visas or work visas or tourist visas, and they just decide to overstay, and then when they're caught, they claim asylum, and they're coming from countries like Pakistan, who, as I said in the introduction at the start of the programme, is probably a bit of a surprise for people, because where, apart from occasional skirmishes up in Kashmir, where is the war that's raging in Pakistan that really should push that to the front of the queue in terms of all the countries represented among asylum applications in the UK? 11,000, up from about 8,000 the previous year. That's 10% of the total asylum applications last year.
We've got a huge Pakistani population in this country anyway. So presumably there could be family links, some of these people, a ready community for people to join.
Well, let's be real. This isn't about asylum at all, is it? This is just another route for economic migration.
If you ask me, absolutely 100%. I've seen it for years. For me, it's gaming the system. There are definitely, of course, legitimate asylum seekers that come to this country. They're fleeing war. They're fleeing, you know, the potential of real serious harm to them or their family if they stayed put in their own country. But I honestly think the vast majority of those that come across the Channel are seeking a better life. I don't blame them for wanting to seek a better life. But in order to do that, they're gaming our asylum system. And I'm afraid all of the apparatus now that has grown up around them in terms of the human rights lawyers, the activist groups, even the way in which the judiciary view a lot of the migration laws, the human rights laws, the interpretation that they put on it is all geared to giving them a positive outcome in claiming asylum. So, of course, the longer that is the case, or the more that is the case, then the more people will come to try to seek asylum in this country, because they know it's a guaranteed way of being allowed to have a new life in the UK, that the chances of being returned are not great, certainly if you come across by small boat.
Have Labour actually brought in any further restrictions from the previous government?
There have been some tweaks to it, but the vast majority of the changes that we can talk about in terms of legal migration were brought about in the 9 years of the Conservative government. So changes such as, upping the salary threshold for a number of occupations. So you would have to, qualify to come across to get a work visa, and also curtailing the number of family members that can come across, or indeed any family members that come across for certain occupations and for student visas. All that has had a sort of positive downward effect on the number of legal migration.
But isn't that interesting? Just as the number of asylum applications hit this record high, the number of people coming on work visas is falling. I mean,
it's interesting, isn't it?
Surely one should pay for the other, but Mark White, thank you indeed for bringing us those details.
Tom, could there be a reason? If you can't get here on a work visa,
you just apply for asylum instead.
A study visa and apply for asylum. I don't know. I mean, there are huge numbers of people in the world, so it could be anything, really. Let's go to Thornaby and speak to GBNews reporter Anna Riley, who's finding out how immigration has impacted the community there. Anna.
Good afternoon. Yes, we're in the last post memorial bar in Thornaby. It's an area that's surrounded by Middlesbrough, surrounded by Stockton. It's been known as a hot spot for immigration, and that's by and by that there's cheaper houses here for people to live in. It's also close to 2 universities as well if people are coming over internationally to study. But in some ways the community have felt left behind. I'm joined by Mike Scott. He's an army veteran. Mike, just tell us over the years how you've seen this area change.
Well, the area's changed dramatically for the whole of the North East. I mean, many years ago we used to be a hustle and bustle of industrial chemical work, shipworks, etc. And obviously once all the mines shut and it shut everything else, we were struggling. But the North East in a whole struggles. We can't even house our own yet. Yet the immigrants are still coming up to the top end, up to the North East. It's not just Stockton, Middlesbrough, it's the whole of the North East they're coming. I mean, the last 2 governments have let us down. I mean, they should be ashamed of themselves, because they're supposed to act on behalf of the people, and the people are not just, they want them to stop them, but the government don't seem to be doing anything about it at the minute.
And this bar that we're in, we're surrounded by memorabilia that's been given by bereaved family members. It's honouring the fallen. It's a hub for veterans to come together. How do you feel veterans are being treated nationwide?
Well, I think the veterans themselves have been let down. There's not enough help out there for them. The only people that's really going to look after veterans are veterans themselves. And this hub here helps veterans quite a bit. If they're struggling, they come here, they mix with fellow veterans and they talk it over. Whereas, and I've got no disrespect for civilians, but the only people that'll help veterans and understand them is another veteran.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for having us here this afternoon. So that's Mike's take here, and the take for the whole of the North East, really, on those immigration figures that have come out today.
Riley, thanks very much indeed.
Well, in other news, it is a big day for Lucy Connelly. Yes, the woman who was jailed for inciting racial hatred against asylum seekers on the day of the Southport murders. Well, she's been released from prison.
The 42-year-old, who is married to Conservative Councillor Raymond Connelly, walked free from HMP Peterborough, or indeed drove free from HMP Peterborough this morning after serving part of a 31-month sentence.
Well, we're joined by political commentator Andy Williams. Andy, we've spoken to a couple of people today on the show who have said that there's been a curtailment of free speech in this case, that the threshold for a crime should be higher and that the sentence was too long in this case. What are your thoughts?
Well, I completely disagree with that. Lucy Connelly was convicted under the Public Order Act 1986. So this is a piece of legislation that's almost 40 years old. I'll remind everybody watching that she pleaded guilty to that criminal offence. She tweeted, "Set fire to all the hotels." That is clearly inciting violence, and there was obviously a racial tinge to that. She served 9 months of a 31-month sentence. I think if it was somebody else, people might be saying that she was let out far too early. I'm not necessarily saying that, but the reality is she committed a crime, she pleaded guilty, and now she's been released after serving less than a third of her sentence.
Andy, her tweet said, "Set fire to all the hotels for all I care." Now, are you saying that if I say, do that for all I care, do this for all I care, that is a direct incitement to action?
Well, I think the context is really important, and she tweeted that at a febrile moment when there was a significant amount of unrest in a particular part of the country. And whether she knew what she was doing or she didn't, the fact is that you, as somebody who posts something on social media, you are legally a publisher. She published what is clearly an incitement to violence. And I'm afraid, you know, whether she understood that or not, tough. I don't feel sorry for her. And actually, I think it's disgraceful that some people have made her out to be a sort of free speech martyr. In particular, Rupert Lowe saying he looks forward to welcoming her to Parliament. I mean, it's a disgrace, and it's completely inappropriate.
Hang on, Andy. The disgrace here is that a mother has been ripped away from her children for writing an ill-advised tweet. I mean, what other jurisdiction would behave like this? If she'd written that tweet in America, no matter if there were riots going on at the same time, had she written that tweet in the United States of America, she would have been protected by the First Amendment. The bar to illegal speech, the bar to incitement or direct threat, immediate call to action, is so much higher in the United States than in this country. I don't think it's perfectly obvious that what she did meets that bar in the eyes of the public. And if it had gone to a jury, it's quite possible she would have been let off.
It is possible. And in fact, we saw that with, I forget his name, but the Labour councillor last week who...
Ricky Jones.
Inciting violence. But he pleaded not guilty and a jury acquitted him. Now, it's entirely possible that a jury would have acquitted Lucy Connelly. We'll never know. She pleaded guilty. I don't think it's worth comparing this to the situation in America. You know, there are lots of other problems with the US justice system, not least that it's deeply politicised. But look, there's a philosophical debate to be had about whether or not you're a free speech absolutist. I'm not, and I think we need protections.
Andy, what about the way she was treated, perhaps differently from other people? Remanded in custody rather than released on bail. She was denied release on temporary bail. She wasn't allowed to see her family members. She was treated very severely. Would you agree on that point?
I think 31-month sentence is harsh, right? I do. Let's be clear, she's only served 9 months of it. By the way, I think I really just want to push back on this she's a mother thing. Whether you're a mother or a father is irrelevant in the justice system. It should be irrelevant to the crime you commit. So let's just put that to one side.
Hang on, it is relevant in some of the justice system.
It's not relevant.
People don't get deported if they're a father or a mother under the ECHR, right to family life.
Well, I don't think it should be relevant in this case, and I don't know whether it was. I actually don't know whether it was taken into account. I assume, because it was a pretty severe sentence, that it wasn't taken into account. But the reality is that she has served less than a third of her sentence. She did something that was a criminal offence, and let's be clear. Let's just remind everybody: she pleaded guilty. She did not have to plead guilty.
She did, and perhaps that was bad advice.
She admitted her culpability for a criminal offence and was given the appropriate punishment.
OK, Andy Williams, thank you very much indeed for putting up that side of things. Political commentator Andy Williams, great to have you on. Yes, she deleted it after 3.5 hours. I mean, was it her fault it got 310,000 views?
Well, this is another thing that should really be taken into account in our justice system. It was taken into account. Do you remember when Elon Musk was being sued for referring to one of the cave divers that saved the Vietnamese children? And he sent a tweet calling him pedo guy.
Oh, God.
But he deleted that tweet quickly. An illegal precedent, I think it was called JDART, which stands for joke, apologise, something and delete, JDART, and that's what got Elon Musk off having a big libel payment.
Kind of like the 3-second rule for when you drop a piece of food on the floor.
Exactly.
You can delete it if you...
Right, if you tweet something, regret it, delete it. Yeah. Is that the same as publishing something in the traditional oldie-worldy sense?
Yeah, I can understand why people would be very upset to read a tweet like that. And how it causes a huge amount of offence, but threshold for free speech has to be a little higher in my book. Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up. Yes, stay tuned. It is my last day. Before I head off on maternity leave, I will be back, but we have a big surprise coming up, so do stick around. There you go. Boy or girl, which will it be?
Oh, I'm excited to find out. But next, has Rachel Reeves declared war on taxpayers up and down the country? Of course, the government debt has ballooned by almost $200 billion. How is the Chancellor going to plug the gap? We'll speak to one guest who has a novel solution.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 2. Now, the Chancellor is being accused of raising taxes by a huge degree, or at least planning to, at the next budget.
Yeah, so where should these tax hikes fall? Should they fall on the rich? Should they fall on the middle classes? Should they fall on the working classes? Should they fall on the destitute?
Well, we've got one man joining us who has a novel solution. The writer Charles Amos joins us down the line. Charles, where do you think the burden of tax rises should fall?
Well, I should say to begin with, theft is taking an individual's property without their consent. Taxation takes an individual's property without their consent. Therefore, taxation is theft. And certainly redistributive taxation is a gross injustice. But in the absence of abolishing the welfare state or significantly cutting back benefits, given the poor are net recipients of welfare and the rich are net contributors to the welfare state, we need to reverse redistribution and tax the poor, and that way we reduce the amount of injustice within society, because the poor are getting too much as it is and the rich aren't.
Charles, are you honestly saying taxing the poor more will reduce the amount of injustice in this country?
Absolutely, because wealth creators are entitled to their wealth, and today they're being totally ripped off. If you look at the top 1% of earners, they pay 28% of income tax. If you take the top 10% of earners, you'll find they spend, they contribute to the Treasury 60% of income tax. The bottom 10% only pay 0.4% of income tax. And the bottom 10% of households receive on top of their net income 40% of it in net transfers in addition to it.
Well, I mean, Charles, I don't think you're going to win an election on this pitch, but there is a certain logic. I suppose it is true that those with the who aren't earning very much money may take much more from public services, but how do you think this will go down with the great British public, Charles?
Well, absolutely terribly, because people don't want to pay more tax. But if the Chancellor has to fill a budget deficit of £137 billion, or at least £50 billion black hole that has recently come to fruition, then she's got to raise significant sums. And the only way she's going to be able to do that is taxing working people. If she raised VAT on all of the zero-rated goods and services in the economy, she could raise about £100 billion. And although the rich would also contribute to that, the poor would certainly contribute to a good amount.
Charles, shall we just take this from a sort of first principles argument? We know that energy, for example, is very, very expensive due to a lot of government intervention in the energy market. Perhaps if we had a freer market in terms of people allowed to extract energy on land, whether that's through fracking or anything else, maybe we'd have cheaper energy. Why should we tax the poor more when they are already paying more for all sorts of things than they used to, and as a proportion of poor people's income, paying for their energy bills, paying for their rent, paying for their food is a far higher proportion of what they pay than people who are on much higher incomes. You would be asking people who are choosing between heating their homes and eating to pay more tax.
That's simply not true, that last statement. If you look at the bottom 10% of households, you'll find they spend 18% of their income on leisure. So if you hike taxes on them, they'd certainly be able to pay for it.
So you think that just by reducing the amount of leisure people on lower incomes enjoy, that's how the Chancellor should plug her hole, that poor people should no longer go on holiday, for instance?
No, that's an exaggeration of what I am saying. If you increased VAT on food and housing, took it from 0% to 20%, the average cost to the bottom 10% of households would be about £1,500. And the way they could account for that is by slashing their leisure expenditure by 50% and cutting down on their food budget by a third. And that would give them about £18 per person to exist on. And I think that's more than enough.
You think £18 per person to exist on over the course of, what is this, a week?
That's a week, yeah.
And you think that's more than enough?
Yeah, well, I spend £22 on food at the moment, and that's fine. So cutting that down by £4 would be all right.
Well, Charles, I've got to say it's a brave suggestion. It's a novel suggestion. I can't necessarily see any politician actually going after it.
No, I don't think any politician will. But if we had to choose between, say, putting up inheritance tax or capital gains tax or the top rate of tax, or, say, putting another penny on the basic rate of income tax, I think the politicians should opt for putting a penny on the basic rate of income tax. Poor people need to pay for the benefits that they receive. It's wrong that they're burdening the great wealth creators of this country with more and more taxation, thieving from them. That is immoral. And
well,
they ought to pay their way.
The poor are thieving off the rich. There you go. Charles Amos, thank you very much. As ever, writer. Oh, sorry. We'll come back to you. I'm sure we'll speak again very soon, Charles. It's always great to have you on. You know, he tests the limits, doesn't he, Charles?
He certainly does. Always a controversial point of view. I'm very interested to hear what GB News viewers and listeners have to say about that.
I think the poor are freeloading off the rich. They should be taxed more.
Oh, it's uncomfortable, isn't it? gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved.
Yes, lots more coming up. Stay tuned. It is my last day before I head off on maternity leave. So we have a little bit of a surprise coming up, so do stick around.
But after the break, it's GCSE results day, of course. Pass rates have fallen. It's a nervous day for pupils across the country. The Secretary of Education says 4/5 of children from white working-class backgrounds are falling short in English and maths, those skills required in life. We're asking, are the parents to blame? That's after your headlines.
Good afternoon. The top stories: Lucy Connelly, who was jailed over a hate tweet against asylum seekers online on the day of the Southport murders, has been released from prison. Kemi Badenoch has called for more Conservative councils to launch legal challenges over asylum hotels as the government faces a potential revolt from its own local authorities. Students have received their GCSE results with the gender gap for top grades persisting. Nearly a quarter of girls achieved at least a grade 7 or A compared to almost a fifth of boys. Campaigners have issued a fresh call to ban smacking across the UK. It's after a poll found more young adults think it's unacceptable. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour with Sam.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. Here's your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of dry weather to come for many of us as we go through the end of the week and into the long bank holiday weekend. At the moment, there's quite a slack flow across us. There's an area of high pressure just to the south of Iceland. But whilst that's bringing a lot of dry weather, it is also allowing for a bit of a northerly breeze to push through. So that's going to keep things a little bit fresher along those North Sea coastal parts, a bit breezy towards eastern parts as well. Elsewhere, a dry story though, and we are going to see some sunshine breaking through. The best of the sunshine towards the southwest and also across parts of northern Scotland. In the sunshine, it's going to feel pleasantly warm, temperatures in the low 20s, but like I say, towards those eastern coastal parts, feeling a bit fresher, especially with that breeze. Now, as we go through into this evening, for many it's going to stay dry and fine, particularly across much of Scotland. Some decent sunshine to end the day here as well. Meanwhile, across the southern parts of Scotland, the borders area, the cloud could be thick enough at times through today and into this evening for a few spots of rain. Similar across parts of Northern Ireland, some parts of Northern England. Elsewhere, though, across the rest of England and Wales, yes, there could be some cloud lingering, and if you're under the cloud, it's always going to feel that bit cooler, but on the whole, it's going to stay dry and at times quite bright. Overnight, it's a case of chasing the cloud, because where we see the cloud lingering, it will keep temperatures from dropping too much. But where we see the cloud disappearing and clearing away, we're going to see our temperatures dropping. So whilst most towns and cities will just about hold up in double figures, in rural spots we could see temperatures dropping to around 2 to 5 Celsius. So a bit of a chilly start tomorrow morning. There could be some fog patches first thing, but these will quite quickly clear. And then again, for many, it's a largely dry day. Not totally dry, perhaps a bit more cloud, a few outbreaks of rain towards some parts of northwest Scotland, maybe the odd spot of rain where the cloud's thick enough across England and Wales as well, but most places staying dry and most places a little bit warmer than today as well. Bye-bye.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. A vehicle fire is disrupting the A898 southbound after the Erskine Bridge, causing restrictions. On the M4 eastbound at junction 42 Earlswood, roadworks have closed the on-slip with diversions. In Luton, a broken down vehicle on the M1 northbound between junction 10 and 11 has closed one of 3 lanes, incurring 10-minute delays. Between junctions 3 and 2 of the M25 anti-clockwise, congestion is causing additional delays. And on the trains, there is Avanti West Coast disruption in the Wigan northwestern area, as well as cross-country disruptions between Newton Abbot and Paignton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 38 minutes past 2. Now, top grades have risen, but important pass rates fall as thousands of students get their GCSE results.
Yes, Education Secretary says white working-class children are being let down as many of them fell short in English and maths.
Well, Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, warns it's impacting UK's productivity.
Well, joining us now is Communications Officer for the Family Education Trust, Lucy. Bridget Phillipson has spoken about how white working-class children are aren't being served by the education system in the way that they should be, being let down. What do you think she means by that?
I think that actually the Education Secretary and the whole of the government at the moment are actually missing the point in terms of children being let down, because in 2014 the DFE had commissioned their own report looking at outcomes for white working class children, and they found that actually the biggest predictor of exam success was a stable family home and stable income, and they seem to be actually missing that. They're sort of putting the blame, I think, probably on teachers and school attendants, when actually what they should be looking into is actually the family background and whether children are coming from a stable family or not, because not just the DFE's own research, but the 2022 Children's Commissioner report also said that having a stable family and a supportive family was also the biggest predictor of whether working class children would actually have good outcomes in terms of exams and getting a better job. And I think that the government are actually failing to talk about that.
Does that mean that statistically white working-class kids are more likely to come from broken homes than, for example, black working-class kids?
Yes, actually, in terms of the marriage rates, children from black families and children from Asian families are more likely to have both their parents together and their parents to be married, and that is a big difference between also middle-class families. We've now got to the point where researchers are actually calling marriage the biggest kept secret of the middle class, because middle class families are 6 times more likely to get married than working class families. So that's a big thing that the government is actually not talking about, the fact that having 2 parents together and the 2 parents being married is a really big predictor of outcomes for children.
But Lucy, when people talk about this, particularly in politics, they get told that they're being judgmental, that they're looking down on people's families' units that don't look like the traditional one, that they're bigoted even. I mean, how do you have this conversation without shaming people who happen to be a single parent?
I think we can still discuss this and debate this without stigmatising single parents. Obviously, some mothers, for example, because 90% of children who live with a single parent are living with their mothers. Some of them that they can't help it if they're escaping domestic abuse or various things that are happening. But we still need to discuss it, because you can't deny what the evidence shows you, and the evidence is saying that this is making a big difference to children.
How do we know that this isn't a correlation rather than a causation? So there could be some single parent, single mother families that are very, very stable at home. They go to bed on time, there's no chaos in the house, all of this sort of stuff. And there could be others where, there are different men coming through every night and sort of no one has a bedtime, the PlayStation's always on, like all this sort of stuff. I mean, could it be that single parent families are a proxy for a lot of other stuff?
Well, there are other factors in play here, but a lot of this in terms of single parents, you're looking at income, because 50% of children who are living in single parent families are actually living in poverty, and if you consider that single parents are going to have to be working a lot, so they're not actually present, they're not there to help with homework, they're not there to say have extracurricular things going on, can't afford tutors, which I know a lot of people have. So that is the big difference. So it's the biggest predictors are the stable family environment. So 2 parents and then 2 parents coming and bringing in an income is making a big difference to these families.
Yeah, I think what you're saying makes perfect sense. Lucy Marsh, thank you very much indeed. Communications Officer for the Family Education Trust.
Well, lots more still to come on today's programme, including one big special surprise.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we've got a cake and on the top of it.
One sec, let me just show, because people are asking.
Yeah.
You can have one look at the bump to decide whether it is a boy or a girl, because apparently that's how you tell. So there you go. There you go. That's enough now.
Pretty sizable bump.
Now. So there you go. That's 38 weeks of gestation, Tom.
Well, while we prepare for the big reveal, why don't we check the travel weather? 'Cause 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 weather?
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hot and sunny conditions continue across much of Spain and Portugal. A few heavy showers likely in Croatia. A fairly brisk wind blowing in Sardinia. Quite breezy too in southern parts of Portugal. But most of Spain and Portugal dry, fine and sunny. Just a small chance of a shower in Ibiza. Much greater chance of seeing some heavy showers across Croatia. Fine and sunny for most of the Greek islands and Turkey. That will continue through the weekend as well. Goodbye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, just like week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. 47 minutes past 2. Now, we're joined on the desk by some lovely cards.
Yeah, these are from all our viewers.
Absolutely, and it's been absolutely magical because obviously our GB News viewers are a bit of a family. We're going to have a new addition to the GB News family very soon, but we're also joined by some more of the GB News family here.
It's so lovely to have all of you. Yes, I am going on my maternity leave. Now, this show, Good Afternoon Britain, has been around for a little while now.
Almost 2 years. We launched in November 2023. And, of course, it's been a really, really fun ride alongside.
We've had our moments, haven't we?
We've had a lot of laughs, not quite some tears, but definitely some feisty debates.
Maybe a couple of tears, but you don't see that. Anyway, should we have a look back at some of the nice moments? I'm Tom Harwood. No, I'm not.
That was unexpected. 24th of May. I'm Emily Carver.
And I am Emily Carver.
and they wouldn't have had this absolute nightmare.
No one would have ever seen it. And is telling a female colleague that they look nice sexual harassment, Tom?
You look nice, Emily.
Oh, God, I'm going to get in touch with HR. This is where you wind me up, though, because you say case by case, OK?
Yeah.
That sounds, you know, reasonable on the face of it, but you have to draw a line somewhere, don't you? And it should just be based on sex. It has to be. You know?
But it is going to be more expensive to build a car in the United States, not less expensive.
I'm not arguing that we're not going to get a massive hit from this, because we are, particularly our car industry. 25% tariffs is also not going to benefit the United States.
The very places designed set up.
Oh, you're annoying me today, Tom.
Okay.
Sorry. but it's okay, it's probably just my hormones.
And I would like to nominate you, Emily Carver, my wonderful wife, for being this week's Greatest Britain.
Well, that's rather nice, isn't it?
I think you might know why.
Well, I mean, we are a family here at GB News, aren't we? I feel like a lot of our viewers feel that way too. A lot of our audience members may feel that way too. So, we've got a little motion picture to show you.
Excellent.
I can't wait to meet you.
I'll be back as quickly as I can to the studio, so hopefully I won't miss too much.
Oh.
Tiny scan.
So sweet. Really, really lovely. But,
Flowers to celebrate the big moment, and there's a card from everyone there
thank
as well.
you so much.
So
Thank you so much. Why are you here?
Well, I'm here because I thought we should do the gender reveal, shouldn't we?
We'll probably do that together. It is your baby as well.
Yes, well, exactly. Right, OK, well, how do we want to do this now,
So
then?
this cake says boy or girl on it.
Have we taken a bet of people in the office? Have anyone taken bets on this or not? No?
Well, I'm thinking that a lot of people think it's going to be a girl. A lot of people think it's going to be a boy.
All right.
But we have to find out
There's
together.
only one way to find out. This is where we find out whether or not we've bought the right cake as well. So there we go.
I didn't make it myself.
All right, go on then. There you go. I'll let you do the honours, I think. You're going to be doing most of the hard work.
Don't come at me with a knife.
Sorry. I'll get sued. OK, right, let's go.
OK.
Is it going to be a boy or a girl? I need to do it facing. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Here's a girl.
Oh. Hey.
Not another young Patrick.
Emily and Patrick.
It's going to be another Patrick.
I just wanted to give you a little token of something.
Pink,
now that
you got the gender wrong.
Look, who was to know? Who was to know? You kept the secret well. It's just to rip through the page. It's just a very little thing for the little baby.
Gosh, a lot of wrapping paper.
Yeah, it's to make it look bigger than it actually is. It's somewhere.
Come on.
No, it's there somewhere. There you go.
Oh, brilliant.
It's a little.
What is this?
GB baby.
Like a little Smurf.
The archetypal GB baby. I'm sure.
You do treat me, Tom.
I'm sure your son will have a show at about 6 months old. It's just absolutely inevitable.
Well, there you go. We can make the GBBs. That's very sweet of you. Thank you, Tom. I am going to miss you. I'm going to miss all you guys, actually.
Yeah. I really hope you don't stay away for too long. And I hope you're going to be coming back in whatever shape or form sort of throughout the process.
You have me back.
I hope we're going to zoom in and see you sort of, from your maternity bed.
Well, there was a conversation about doing some kind of 24, what is it, one born every minute?
24 hours a minute.
Well, I think we vetoed that, but we could get Cameron Walker outside the Lindo.
Royal GB News announcements of the birth outside the Lindo wing. It's a very soft thing.
What we really need is the town crier who stands out to announce a royal birth.
Yes.
He's got Mark White written all over it.
Well, yes. Listen, I should say, because the audience might be a bit confused as to why we're all here. That's part of Patrick's contractual agreement. Now he never appears on air without an audience.
Absolutely, yeah. I won't get out of bed without him.
Boys is the showman. But yeah, thanks to everyone at home who's sent so many lovely wishes. These cards are just a tiny selection of all the ones that have come our way. We've also had so many hand-knitted presents.
I've got some tales, or is it your Beatrix Potter books as well?
So a viewer sent a Beatrix Potter book. Now, actually, Michelle Dewberry gave us this. It's a little Ralph Lauren. You can tell she's got good taste.
Little Ralph Lauren number.
Little Ralph Lauren number there. So,
sweet.
There were loads of other gifts as well, but I don't have them to hand. So many people have sent crocheted goods, crocheted blankets, haven't had to buy anything. Yeah, brilliant.
Well, I mean, it does just show how involved everyone has been who watches GB News. Seeing everything that is sent in all the time, everyone's so invested in this. We're really going to miss you, Emily, and thank you so much for the last almost 2 years.
Thanks, guys. So I'm not going to start bursting into tears, so let's get to Martin.
Oh.
Well, second surprise. Guys, amazing news. A little baby Patrick Jr. Can't wait to see that coming across your screens in a few years' time, the little one there. Listen, we've got a big show coming up for you. We're going to be bringing you some really interesting information on that asylum seeker data that dropped today, stuff you haven't heard before, on top of whether or not we should drop the oath to the King when politicians are sworn into the Scottish Parliament. We'll see you and loads more after the break.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, as we go towards the long bank holiday weekend, we are going to have high pressure building, so things are going to be largely dry and increasingly warm, but currently we still have, well, the influence of high pressure, but it is bringing a bit of a northerly flow, which is why things have been a bit fresher, a bit cooler towards those eastern coastal parts. And we do have a fair bit of cloud for quite a few of us through the rest of today, but some of that cloud is going to break up a bit more as we go through the evening and overnight. And where we get those clear skies, well, that's where we're likely to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop. Some rural spots could fall as low as 2, 3, 4 degrees, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, most towns and cities holding up in double digits. It is going to be a generally dry night, but there could be some pockets of mist and fog first thing tomorrow morning, but they're quite quickly going to clear away. Towards the south, across the southwest, a bright sunny start tomorrow morning, and across parts of the southeast, more central parts and into Wales, a bit more cloud. And where we get the cloud, there could be a few spots of rain across parts of North Wales, northwest England, maybe Northern Ireland too, and the borders area of Scotland could have a little bit of drizzly rain at times. But further north, across western parts of Scotland, a brighter start, central and eastern parts having a little bit more cloud. Then through the day itself tomorrow, again, some cloudy weather continuing in some places, so some places staying a little bit grey, but most of us will see some brighter spells breaking through at times. Perhaps a good deal of sunshine across much of Scotland, northwest England. Elsewhere, the cloud lingering a little bit. Under the cloud, feeling a little cooler perhaps, but in any sunny breaks, we're looking at temperatures getting into the low 20s. Temperatures on paper a little bit higher than today. Then through the